So welcome. What if Naruto reincarnated into the world of High School DxD had control over all devil fruit, Naruto x harem? The two Kendo practitioners came to a stop when the referee called that. Stepping away from each other, they bowed to each other respectfully. The one who had scored the hit to the opponent's head to end the match reached up to remove the Kendo helmet he was wearing. The men. With the constrictive helmet removed, the participant's head and facial features were revealed. Bright, spiky blonde hair was released, partially concealed by the tenugui he was wearing as a head wrap to absorb his sweat. Cerulean blue eyes peered out from between sweat-soaked bangs. The unique whisker marks stretched from the wide smile he was sporting. "You really gave me a run, Kujaku. I barely managed that last shot," the blonde claimed animatedly. His opponent removed their own men, showing that she was a female slightly older than the blonde. Shiratori Kujaku was the captain of the Quo Kendo Club. Breathing deeply and wiping off her own sweat, she then looked him in the eyes as she replied, "Thanks, but we both knew you were going to win. Your speed is ridiculous, Naruto. I can barely follow your shinai when you get going." Rubbing the back of his head, Naruto chuckled sheepishly at that. Better not tell her he was making sure to control his speed and reflexes. Otherwise she wouldn't have stood a chance. He quickly commented, "I might have speed, but you definitely got the skill. I could never do half the stuff you managed." "Well, you aren't exactly trained in Kendo. You just dropped by. I certainly wouldn't want to be your opponent in a fistfight, where you are trained," Kujaku pointed out. "Thanks for the spar, Kujaku," Naruto stated with a grin. "I should be thanking you. You are welcome here anytime. You've really pushed a number of the members here. If we this kind of training going, then we can compete in the tournament. We will even stand a chance of making nationals with our current strength," Kujaku remarked calmly. Naruto shot her a grin before he walked over to a bench on the sidelines. Sitting down, Naruto allowed himself to relax slightly. He quickly got started removing the restrictive pieces of Kendo equipment Kimiko had forced him to wear: the coat, padded gloves, breastplate, tear, waist and groin protector, and finally the tenugui around his head. His kendogi and hakama were now revealed. Wiping sweat from his forehead, Naruto leaned backwards and took a few deep breaths. "Anno, Naruto-senpai, I have a towel for you," a quiet voice spoke up from beside him. Naruto looked over to see one of the first years. If his memory served him, it was the captain's younger sister Tsubame. Taking the towel, Naruto gave her a bright grin as he replied, "Thanks, I appreciate it." Tsubame blushed slightly, but then stuttered, "Why, your phone was also ringing. I didn't look in it. I just thought you should know." "Thanks," Naruto said as he took the phone she was holding out. Tsubame quickly moved away, seemingly embarrassed. Naruto just chuckled before he wiped his face with the towel she gave him. He then checked his phone for the email he had received. "Brat, some issues have come up on my end. I'll be a day late. Just warning you. I won't be home tonight like planned. Have fun, hopefully with those girls of yours. I fully endorse you having some fun with." Naruto stopped reading there. He didn't feel like reading a paragraph of encouragement to have fun. That's just Jiraiya being Eros Senin. Even if majority of his friends were girls, it didn't mean anything romantic or ulterior of any kind. Placing his phone down, Naruto contemplated the last few years. Naruto had only been on the training trip with Jiraiya for almost 6 months when trouble happened. Akatsuki tracked him down. A man wearing the Akatsuki cloak and a spiral mask had ambushed them. Jiraiya had battled the man, using some awesome collaboration technique with 2 old toads. The battle had turned into a stalemate. The man had some weird defensive technique that caused all attacks to pass right through him. And Jiraiya had been able to sense where the man appeared. Unfortunately, Naruto's reckless streak came into play. He tried to help Jiraiya. Naruto had proved useless against the man, and had been severely injured. He would have been captured if not for Jiraiya. Driving the man back, Jiraiya had bought enough time for Naruto to bring forth some of the Cubus chakra. Now facing off against a Sage Mode Jiraiya and a cubified Naruto, the masked man had attempted some sort of space-time technique on them. Naruto would admit till this day he still didn't quite get it. But Jiraiya had explained what happened. Apparently the combination of senjutsu and biju chakra had interfered with the spacetime technique. Instead of ending up wherever the man had meant to send them, they quite literally traveled worlds. Naruto and Jiraiya ended up being dropped in a lake. They would have drowned if it weren't for a divine intervention by a certain goddess, who's also the reason that led him to be suckered in staying in this said world for reasons Naruto did not knew of any kind. It had taken him a while to figure out the situation after that. But they managed. Their summoning was pretty much shammed due to the massive influx they caused towards the dimension they traveled through. He remembered Jiraiya explaining to him that due to the battle they had with the masked man, that not only did they also traveled across worlds, they also made a bridge between this world and theirs. Meaning their worlds were going to converge, similar to adding another topping to a bowl of ramen or pizza. The problem was that it was unstable, with no safe passage to travel. The only way to travel back was with the same jutsu the masked men had dragged them towards too, which was impossible since he didn't land with them, thus leading them to wait until the third year that passes by and the bridge would finally stabilize and smooth sailing from there. Naruto arrived in this world when he was 13. He was now 16 going through 17. A lot had happened in the 2 years and the 10 months that passed. The first year had been surprisingly smooth. Naruto and Jiraiya hadn't had much trouble speaking the language from an unknown universe, given to how much Japan was culturally similar to their own world in a way. Though they did put the effort in learning the other foreign languages. Given to the cultural diversity, money wasn't even a problem, given to Jiraiya finding a good publishing company allowing for cash to easily roll in thanks to the hot best-selling series, Icha Icha. Jiraiya used the money to buy a 2-story mansion and to start an intelligence network, with Naruto being its first member. A month later passed after and they established themselves as capable covert agents and mercenaries, which led to the meeting of the governor of fallen angels. Soon after that, it led to some hectic days. Naruto didn't like Azazel. Mostly due to a petty reason, he made him go to school. Again, the blonde wasn't a happy camper, but then again it led him to gain some social skills and made a best friend. Despite her perverted quirks, the best part about it all was the grueling training he had endured to become strong. After seeing the fight between Jiraiya and the masked man, Naruto had begged to kick up the training regime higher. The blonde was grateful towards the lending help of Azazel and his company. That didn't leave him of the hook though. But most importantly, he owed his strength to his battle-loving maniac buddy, who he fought and trained daily with. After graduating Hajirigasaka Academy, Naruto was immediately enrolled to the Quo Academy by Azazel, who gave it a high recommendation. It was originally an all-girls school until it became co-ed. Even though girls still outnumbered the guys easily, Naruto's first day of class was rather bizarre. The blonde found himself living a life he never thought would be his. He was actually a bit popular. Girls thought he was cute or possible boyfriend material. His cheerful and helpful nature were drawing points, along with his bright blue eyes, wide grin that always caused others to break out into smiles, and the facial markings he claimed were real. Guys were jealous of his sudden luck with the ladies and took up the job of trying to make him look like a fool, while subsequently failing in their quest. His popularity of looks actually even became rivaled with Kiba, even if it was one-sided. Naruto could have passed as a Bishonen, but due to his strong jawline he came out more masculine than effeminate. All this led to his perverted friend to tease him relentlessly. Damn pervert. Hell, get her for this, somehow. During the year that has passed, Naruto liked to think he made a good social circle around him. He certainly had a good number of friends, and many acquaintances. The Kendo Club was one of his favorite places to visit. For a number of reasons, Naruto focused on the physical clubs, allowing him to train some in the process of socializing. Quo was noticeably lacking in clubs directly related in some form to fighting, so the Kendo Club was one of the best training opportunities for Naruto. The Kendo Club was nearly all female as well. Naruto wasn't sure why, but he tried not to question it. While not a huge factor, it was nice to have some eye candy. Finally, there were 2 other reasons that he frequently came to the Kendo Club, friendly reasons. Tired? Naruto-kun, I'm shocked that Mr. Stamina can run out of steam, a teasing voice spoke up. Naruto looked up to look at the speaker. Naruto easily recognized her. Ueda Murayama, she was a second year, like Naruto. Her brunette hair was mostly done up in two high ponytails. Using two red ribbons, her bangs were cut straight just above her eyes. Except for two longer bangs that framed her face, her eyes were a hazel color, and she had nice, creamy skin, of an average height. Standing around 5 foot 6 inches, Murayama was gifted with a very nice figure, easily the best in the Kendo club. Personality-wise, Murayama was a willful and confident girl, quick to speak her mind. She tended to be a bit on the blunt side. Another girl was just behind her. Shimizu Katase could usually be found at Murayama's side. Similarly, a second year, Katase had short hair that only went down to her shoulders. The coloring was very unique, a very light pink, with just a slight reddish-orange tint. Her bangs were held out of her face by a white hairband, displaying her forehead. Her eyes were a darker shade of pink than her hair. Katase was a bit paler than Murayama, as well as 3 inches shorter. Her body was a bit slimmer than Murayama's. Although still quite remarkable for a girl her age, Katase was a bit quieter than Murayama. Although no less willful, she was also a bit more polite, except when angered, then she can be just as harsh. These two were Naruto's first friends, minus pervert, when he enrolled in Quo Academy, and were rather close, so he grinned cockily as he replied to Murayama's taunt, "Please, I'm nowhere near tired, all this equipment is just hot as hell." "Whatever you say, Naruto-kun," Murayama said in a tone that spoke of her disbelief. "If you don't believe me, I'll prove it. I'll take on everyone here one after another. If I'm not stuck inside one of these stupid suits, I won't break a sweat," Naruto proclaimed boldly. "Quiet, you two, club time is almost over. Murayama, don't get Naruto going or it will take an hour to calm him down. Naruto, don't take the bait even when you know she is playing with you," Katase quickly interrupted, reprimanding both of them. This was the usual with them. Murayama would tease Naruto, who was too excitable and impulsive to let it pass. Katase would then step in, or watch in amusement if she was in a certain mood. Both the girls sat on the same bench as Naruto, who quickly asked, "Do you two want to eat with me after the club ends?" "We always do," Murayama replied quickly. "I know, but it's always best to ask in case you two have something to do," Naruto pointed out in return. "We wouldn't ever miss our meal with you, Naruto-kun," Katase claimed. Grinning at that, Naruto sat back as he watched the Kendo club start slowing down. 30 minutes later, Naruto was walking alongside Katase and Murayama. The three had changed out of the Kendogi and Hakama uniform of the Kendo club. The two girls were wearing the Quo Academy uniforms. Naruto was wearing a modified version of the male uniform. He discarded the black blazer and black ribbon around the neck entirely. He then left the white undershirt unbuttoned, revealing the burnt orange, short-sleeved shirt underneath. The three were walking from the Kendo club to the schoolyard. Finally reaching the schoolyard, the three sat on the grass. With clubs ending, many students were leaving. A number were emulating their group though in sitting down to eat some pre-packed meals. Katase and Murayama pulled out summer bentos, but Naruto just stayed put. "Here's your bento, courtesy of the cooking club." Naruto smiled kindly as he took the bag. "Thanks Aika-chan." Kiryu Aika, a second year and in the same class as Naruto who also happened to be his first friend in this new world. She was a brunette like Murayama but her hairstyle was stylized in boho pigtails and her eyes were dulled yellow in color, fair skin and stood average in height. She was quite attractive in the girl next door kinda way, with added spice of lewdness of course. She adjusted her large framed purple-rimmed glasses which glared in the light of the sun as she smirked. You know it makes a girl wonder in why an entire club of girls would be making food for a single guy, Ruto-kun, Kiryu pointed out as she let out a perverse giggle as she thought of theories. "Whatever perverted fantasy you're having, it isn't like that. You of all people know it already. They have leftovers every day," Naruto quickly claimed. "Leftovers they could take home themselves. Instead they put it all together and deliver it to you. Not to mention the quality of the food has increased. The cooking club used to make cookies and cakes. Now they're making things like French cuisine. What was it yesterday? Thai. That's a bit too fancy to count as leftovers. It's obvious they are preparing stuff specifically for you, Murayama pointed out as she joined the conversation and raised her points. Conceding that point, Naruto quickly argued, that doesn't mean what you are implying. It is only natural for them to try harder for someone else, not like they would go the extra mile when they know they'll be eating it. People naturally want to make good impressions on others. Yeah, but this isn't just an extra mile, this is a full marathon. That does imply something, Murayama countered. No, it doesn't, you're just reading into things, Naruto claimed stubbornly. Oblivious by default, Kiryu pinched the blonde's cheeks as she turned his face to their friends. Isn't he just adorable? Naruto grumbled as slapped the hands away as Murayama snickered at his expense while Kataze shook her head as light giggle escaped. The four eventually started eating their respective meals. The two Kendo members were eating a bentos made by their mothers, while Kiryu shamelessly snagged some treats from Naruto's lunch, which the blonde didn't mind. Kataze and Murayama eventually joined, which Naruto started to playfully try and protect his food from him, but then it just devolved into a game. At least until Murayama caught sight of something. Growling slightly, she grunted out in annoyance, "Geez, not those three." Naruto, Kataze, and Kiryu quickly looked to see what she meant. Kataze quickly let out a dismayed groan. Naruto just chuckled awkwardly, while Kiryu just grinned. It was the perverted trio. Although they had a number of different names along the same lines, basically, they were three massively perverted students. Naruto wouldn't say they were the most perverted students in school. Nearly every male student in Quo came because of the multitude of females, and conversations in the locker room could become downright randy. These three didn't even attempt to hide it though, brazenly flaunting their perverse thoughts and dreams. Murayama and Kataze, like practically every female at Quo minus Kiryu, despised them. Naruto was ambivalent to them. On one hand he respected their honesty regarding their desires. As a number of male classmates just as lewd hid similar thoughts and feelings. Naruto was actually annoyed when a lot of males, who were similarly perverted, degraded the three in an attempt to impress girls. At least these three were confident enough to be themselves. On the other hand, they were just so perverted, not to mention they didn't respect the privacy of the females in the school. Peeking was a common activity of theirs. Naruto did not like how they did such things without even considering the opinion of the females in question. He doubted they would be happy if Naruto took pictures of their dicks and showed it to people. Yet they similarly ignored the privacy of females in order to satiate their lust for tits, asses, and legs. At least they didn't go so far as to grope girls whenever they could. Apparently even they had standards, although it might be a calculated decision. Naruto was constantly surprised that the three weren't expelled. Peeking perverts aren't exactly a welcome presence in a school mainly filled with females. If they started groping or sexually harassing girls or any more than that, then they would probably be expelled. So it might just be them understanding the line the school had for them. The three were just standing a short distance away, staring at the group mournfully. Kiryu smirked as she taunted, "What's wrong, losers, caught in the act again?" "Shut up, Kiryu," Matsuda yelled out. He had a shaved head, tanned skin, and his eyes were almost always squinted. A former sports star, he was the most physically fit of the three. He was currently a member of the photo club due to his desire to photograph every part of the female body. Thus he was often known as sexual harassment paparazzi. He was also a self-proclaimed lolicon, which was really disturbing and made the blonde wonder if he played it for laughs or if it was actually serious. "We weren't caught. Besides, we have better hours to spend our time," Motohama defensively stated. He was characterized by his large glasses, which gave him a bit of a nerdy look. He was also known for being able to figure out a girl's 3 sizes just by looking, so he was known as Pervert Glasses. Like what? Looking at the new installment of Momozono Momo's Carbon Rider Pinky, the perverted trio gawked. They thought they kept it secret. "How did you figure it out?" Issei questioned the girl. Out of all the three, Issei was rather average height. Brown hair, light brown eyes, rather skinny. There wasn't a whole lot to note about Issei besides his incredible lust. He apparently desired to become a harem king. He was known as the lump of libido and the incarnation of pure lust. Kiryu once found him cute, which Naruto actually encouraged in dating, because out of the three perverted trio Issei was quite frankly the most redeemable person, though Kiryu never did and called Naruto oblivious to much of his confusion. You were waving it around and screaming it for the whole class to hear, Kataise pointed out to the three. Rumors spread fast, especially when it comes to you three perverts. Yeah, and we were there to hear the entire conversation. Murayama brow scrunched in anger at that point. God, couldn't they find better hobbies that wasn't obsessive and borderline violated privacy? You morons are helpless virgins with no redeeming qualities. Just stop being a pest to everyone. Hey, isn't that a bit too harsh? Naruto chuckled awkwardly as he faced the perverted trio and sighed. Why don't we just patch this up and come over and sit down? Wait. What? Murayama angrily demanded, sighing again. Naruto told her calmly, calm down. I feel sorry for them. It won't hurt to let them sit and eat with us. It might. Seriously, those three must have some disease, Murayama declared furiously. Stop exaggerating, they're perverts, not lepers, Naruto said. Same thing, just give them a chance, Murayama, Naruto requested simply. Looking at the similarly displeased Kataise, Naruto continued, I'm not saying to ignore their perversion, but don't focus on it so much. Why not just calmly sit down and have a lunch with them? Has any girl in the school even attempted to get to know them? As people they at least deserve a chance. Heck, you girls are okay with hanging out with Kiryu. Kiryu smirked as she waved. I think it's easy to understand them as perverts who are honest with their desires. Kiryu sighed as she knew what Naruto was trying to do. Honestly, it was very kind of him to do, but they were perverts. Proud ones to boot. Deep down they were good people at heart, but they had to get motivation to bring it out the goodness of their heart. Kiryu didn't avoid them and would chat with them from time to time. After all, their antics led to some golden moments of laughs or stupidity, a little bit of both. Especially when it came to Issei, you can count on him for that. But admittedly she didn't hang out with them. Sure, they shared characteristics as perverts, but that didn't warrant an immediate connection of friendship. Hey, come on Aika, you agree with me in giving him a chance? Kiryu shrugged her shoulders as she pointed to Murayama and Kataise, who both looked unpleased with him. Murayama turned away while crossing her arms petulantly, while Kataise reluctantly told him, if it was anyone else we wouldn't even consider it, Naruto-kun, but all right, they can come eat with us. Thanks, Naruto said happily. Turning back to the trio, he waved him over again. The second sign was enough to send them scurrying over. As soon as they sat down, Naruto told them, there is plenty of food, so you can have some if you want. Thank you, Uzumaki-sama, the three quickly exclaimed pitifully. Apparently the three weren't used to acts of kindness, which only made Naruto pity them all the more. None of that Sama stuff, Naruto quickly informed them. He quickly continued, just call me Naruto, I'm not one for politeness. Got it. Naruto, the three spoke in unison. Naruto nodded in satisfaction. He never quite got how Japanese refer to each other. In the elemental nations, they typically used a person's given name unless they were a high rank or a sign of respect. Plenty of the girls in the school still refused to call him Naruto, since they feel it would be too forward and impolite. One of the reasons he hadn't been well liked at first was because he almost always used a person's given name. He hadn't changed that habit, but people had eventually gotten that it was simply a sign of friendliness for him. Murayama quickly growled out, you're on thin ice, perverts. If it wasn't for Naruto-kun, you wouldn't be here. Calm down, Murayama, let's just all eat and have a friendly conversation, Naruto said peacefully to calm the two irritated girls down. Apparently the presence of the three perverts alone was unpleasant for them. With that the group started eating, the three perverts taking some of the pastries from Naruto food. Kataise and Murayama started eating, clearly trying to ignore the presence of the three. Their lunchtime was rather peaceful until Naruto finally noticed the perverted trio burst out in tears while eating. Recoiling in shock, the blonde awkwardly asked, is something wrong? No, not at all. This might just be one of the most magnificent moments in our life, Issei declared. To eat food hand-prepared by girls, Matsuda continued. We can taste the care and feelings that went into the food, it's amazing, Motohama finished. Yes, it's simply amazing, isn't it? The delicious food that was cooked for Naruto and Naruto only. Kiryu held the lunch up in the air, like a divine sign. Murayama smirked as she continued in Kiryu's stead. No girl would ever cook for you three perverts. You are only eating that because Naruto-kun is letting you. Ouch, that was harsh. But Murayama really did not like these three, kates as well. In the same classes as these three, they were frequently subject to their perverted machinations. Issei started to cry from the harsh words, but Matsuda shot to his feet and declared angrily while pointing at Naruto, "It isn't fair, damn it. Why does this guy have so many girls cook willing to for him? H is always hanging around girls, and we get nothing. Wow, talk about a change. A minute ago he was calling Naruto-sama, and now H is insulting him." Strike one against the trio. Neither Kates nor Murayama were about to back down though. Despite his loud voice, both stood up to glare at him. Kates then exclaimed just as loudly, "Maybe it is because people actually like Naruto-kun. H is nice, generous, friendly, optimistic, helpful, and funny. H is also both athletic and good-looking." Naruto actually blushed at her words. Despite being in his second year in Quo, he still wasn't used to the sudden popularity that he gained over the past year. Murayama quickly continued where Kates left off. He also isn't a pervert who insists on bringing porn to class, peeking on girls, and overall being an annoying pest. Murayama, Kates, that's enough, Naruto said firmly. The two reluctantly sat back down. Naruto then turned to Matsuda and continued, "And can you please try and be civil as well? This is supposed to be a relaxing meal." Matsuda reluctantly sat down as well. Naruto quickly started up a conversation about their schoolwork. They were all in the same class, so they all had similar homework. For a time a peaceful conversation ensued, but Naruto eventually asked why they were still here. "I'm in the photo club, so I just got finished with club activities," Matsuda claimed while holding up his camera. "Club activities? You mean taking pictures of girls in their bloomers?" Murayama grumbled to herself. "Bet they were at the tennis club," Kiryu said as she happily ate her treat. Naruto ignored her in favor of looking at Issei and Motohama and asking, "What about you two?" Issei rubbed the back of his head as he sheepishly admitted, "We've just been watching the other clubs." Motohama adjusted his glasses as he elaborated, "Girls practicing tennis with low skirts and breasts that bounce magnificently in the air, a fantastic scene." "Ooh, strike two, enemy of women," Murayama quickly declared. "Don't you realize how creepy and annoying it is for girls to be watched like that?" Kates quickly added. Motohama stood up and retorted passionately, "Nonsense. It's a sign of admiration, plus, it isn't like they in private, they are in the open, where anyone can choose to look at them." "Like you wouldn't peek on them in private," Murayama countered. "Stop," Naruto quickly ordered. No arguments. Things once again settled down. Trying to preempt another argument, Naruto turned to Issei and asked, "So how did things go on your date yesterday, Issei?" Issei just looked at Naruto blankly before questioning, "What do you mean, Naruto? I didn't have a date yesterday." Growing confused himself, Naruto answered, "But you were bragging yesterday about a girl confessing to you. You were supposed to be going on your first date with her after school." Issei looked baffled by Naruto's words, scratching his head while looking at his two friends. He finally looked at Naruto and claimed, "I don't know what you mean, my head is a bit fuzzy on the last 2 days, to be honest, but I'd certainly remember that if that truly happened." That only made Naruto grow even more confused. He was certain he remembered Issei talking about finally getting a girlfriend. They are in the same class, so Naruto was forced to hear it. Matsuda and Motohama were looking at Naruto in confusion as well. A quick glance showed Murayama and Kates were baffled as well. But Kiryu's face showed more concern to Naruto. Scratching his head, Naruto chuckled before admitting, "Sorry, must have been my mistake, must have accidentally switched your name with someone else's on accident. I do that sometimes. They all accepted that, since Naruto was a bit airheaded. Naruto was still suspicious though. He was sure he remembered Issei talking about getting a girlfriend yesterday. But his confusion wasn't faked. The reaction of the others only confirmed it. That meant one of two things. Either Naruto's head was messed with or his was the only one that hadn't been messed with. Naruto wasn't sure what was worse, the possibility of someone or something affecting Naruto mentally, or the possibility of someone or something being capable of messing with a large group of people mentally without Naruto knowing. There was something else as well. Something about Issei was missing. Naruto couldn't identify what, but he had a gut feeling that something about Issei was different. Something was missing in his aura. He'd have to talk to Jiraiya about it all, tomorrow. Jiraiya said he wasn't going to be home tonight. While Naruto was still silent, Murayama took another pastry from Naruto's selection. Issei quickly commented bluntly, "Wow, you and Kates eat a lot, Murayama." Murayama immediately blushed before replying scathingly, "Shut up. I exercise enough to work it off, and don't call Kates and me by our names."
"I totally agree. Eat all you want," Motohama declared, adjusting his glasses while grinning perversely. He quickly continued, "Your figures have improved over the last few months. B88W57H83 for you, Murayama. B82W53H80 for Katis. You two have always been high tier among the girls in Kuo, but over the past few months you've risen even higher. If only the Kendo Club locker room wasn't so devoid of peepholes because of Naruto, we'd be able to appreciate the improvement all the more."
Strike 3. Both Murayama and Kates had lowered their heads, shadows covering their eyes. Murayama whispered in a voice filled with a promise of pain, "You." Issei apparently figured out what was about to happen, and started moving away. "Filthy perverts." Kates finished for Murayama. The two quickly started chasing the three, clearly intent on causing them pain. Naruto just sighed before shaking his head in amusement. Well, he gave them the chance. They took that chance and wasted their 3 strikes. Batter out. "So what was that about Issei having a girlfriend?" Kiryu asked her blonde companion as Murayama and Kates went off and chased after the 3 perverts. "I don't know, but I definitely remember him bragging to his friends." Naruto's eyes squinted as he clasped his arms around his shoulders, walking alongside her best friend as they went to meet up with Murayama and Kates. "It's really weird that I missed a memory spell like that. Maybe it was a different kind?" Kiryu speculated. Naruto's eyes narrowed as he remembered. "Yeah, I think I got the right idea. Who? OMMPHF. Speak of the devil, literary." With his distracted thoughts, Naruto felt himself walk into someone. The feminine grunt and large amount of cushioning Naruto felt from the person's chest showed it was a female, a busty one. Immediately Naruto leaned down and held out his hand for the person while saying, "Sorry, I was distracted." "It's okay, it was my fault as well," the girl said as she took his hand, using his help to stand up. It was easy for Naruto to recognize the person. Everyone in the school knew who she was, Rias Gremori, possibly the most idolized person in school. Her family was rumored to be based out of Northern Europe. Naruto had also heard that she was the head of the Occult Research Club for 3 years running. Of course none of that was the reason she was so idolized. No, that honor belonged to her appearance. Rias was ridiculously beautiful. The feature that stood out most to Naruto was her long, crimson hair that went down to the back of her thighs. Her eyes were a mesmerizing blue color with a slight tinge of green. Flawless, creamy skin combined with perfectly balanced facial features to give her a face that was almost too perfect. Standing around 5 foot 8 inches, she was taller than the average Japanese girl, and just a centimeter shorter than Naruto. Her figure was fantastic. Her bust easily surpassed Murayama's in size. It wasn't just her breasts either. Her waist was incredibly slim. Her hips were very well rounded, and her legs long and toned. Altogether she was stunning. She was referred to as one of Kuo Academy's 2 great ladies. She wasn't alone either. A chuckle drew Naruto's attention to a person standing next to Rias. Naruto recognized her just as easily as he had Rias, Himejima Akeno, the second of Kuo Academy's 2 great ladies. Like Rias, Kendo was stunning to a degree that was almost inhuman. Where Rias had the foreign princess look, Kendo was the traditional Japanese beauty. A Yamato Nadeshiko, she had long black hair that was done up into a high ponytail. Tied with an orange ribbon, her hair was so long the ponytail nearly fell to the floor.
Her eyes were purple, and her blemish-free skin was slightly paler than Rias. She was 2 inches shorter than Rias, 5 foot 6 inches, which was still on the taller side for Japanese females. Possibly Akane's main characteristic were her breasts. Despite being shorter, they were even larger than Rias, both volume-wise and in proportion to her body. Otherwise she was similar to Rias in having a small waist, rounded hips, and long legs.
Keeping his cool despite running into the 2 most popular girls in school, Naruto looked at Rias and said, "Once again, I'm sorry for knocking into you, Gremory-san." Naruto tried to circle around them to leave, but was cut off when Rias commented, "Gremory-san, every rumor I've heard about you, Uzumaki Naruto, indicates you almost always use a person's given name. Is something wrong with my name?"
Naruto looked at her guardedly. Truthfully, for once Naruto didn't want to piss off someone off in Kuo, more specifically the sisters of 2 of the 4 great Satans. Naruto wasn't very particularly happy when he found out that he was attending the same school with 2 of the most influential Devil's little sisters to this date. The blonde ended up yelling at Azazel for the situation since he was the sole reason he ended up in even enrolling into Kuo. His reply didn't really ease it up all.
"I thought it would be interesting." He laughed along with Jiraiya. Naruto couldn't believe that Eros Sennin actually went along with the idea. "Curse you, Azazel. I'll get you for this eventually." Ever since that knowledge, the blonde tried to lay off Rias and Sona's radar of vigilance. Maybe they already knew he was there, but in the most matters they have been soundly ignoring him and letting him attend the school. Though Naruto shamelessly admitted he was having a hard time trying not piss off the president of the student council, Sona most definitely did not tolerate him. In the beginning, when he was a first year, Naruto wasn't a fan of the certain dirty looks of the many male students sent in his way, leading to some humiliated pranks, but that was a story for a later time. Naruto automatically explained in his best breezy voice, "I am rather forward, but I try to not be impolite. We've not spoken 2 words to each other before. It is only natural I call you Gremory-san." "Nonsense, I do not mind. You can call me Rias," she quickly stated. Before he could respond, she looked at Kiryu and continued, "You are Kiryu Ika, correct?" "Why yes," Kiryu confirmed awkwardly. She was a bit anxious of actually being addressed by the most admired person in Kuo. "You can call me Rias as well. I know we haven't spoken before, but I'd like it if we could become friends in the future," Rias claimed with a friendly smile. "Oh, of course," Kiryu replied stiffly, clearly shocked. Lifting her hand to her mouth as she chuckled, Kendo finally spoke up by saying, "This is such a nice scene, I simply can't stay out. You 2 can of course call me Kendo." "Sure. Kendo-senpai, thanks I guess." Both Rias and Kendo then turned to Naruto. While Rias looked innocently friendly, Naruto clearly saw amusement in Kendo's eyes. Grabbing Kiryu's hands, he pulled her away as he said, "Thank you, Rias-senpai and Kendo-senpai. Sorry we can't chat, but we need to get going." After they went down the hallway and turned a corner, they stopped when they were outside the school's gates. Naruto and Kiryu took a second to take a breath as the rush finally settled down in their minds. Kiryu looked at her blonde companion and asked, "What was that?" I don't know really," Naruto said rather awkwardly as he then summarized the situation that took place. "Those 2 talked to us. They gave us permission to call them by their names. They even talked about becoming friends in the future." Which comes across rather weird and out of random. Kiryu stared directly at Naruto as she spoke. "Sure they're polite, but certainly not friendly. They barely talk to anyone except for the members in their club." Naruto could understand why Kiryu felt rather guarded about this suddenness.
They surely have reasons. They take their club seriously, and they are still polite about it. Plus, just a few words from those 2 is enough to make anyone's day, Naruto explained, trying to ease Kiryu's attitude over the situation.
"What the hell are you saying?" Kiryu raised a brow in annoyance. Did Murayama and Kates convert you to their church of idolization of the two great ladies of Quo, or something?
Guess it didn't work. No, I'm just saying there's nothing you should be worried about. Naruto squeezed her hand reassuringly as he spoke softly. Look, I know I got you involved in my life and its weirdness after that incident, but this time I'm more prepared and a hell of a lot stronger too. What I'm just trying to say is that, I got this.
You got this? How assuring, Kiryu said withdrawally.
Thanks, Naruto exclaimed happily, missing her sarcasm. Kiryu's serious demeanor quickly turned into a small fits of laughter. Wiping a tear under her glasses, she patted his whiskered cheek, returning his smile in kind. Hey Naruto.
Yeah, don't ever change. Naruto looked at her owlishly before he smiled and walked out of the academy to the streets together. The blonde failed to realize how long he had been holding Kiryu's hand for some time. Moments after watching Naruto take Kiryu away, noting the hurriedness in their steps, an annoyed Rias asked of her queen, "Was it really necessary for you to let me walk into him?" The meeting between Naruto and the two great ladies was not as unplanned as it had appeared. Rias had actually been meaning to talk to him to some degree. The accidental collision was actually genuine. Naruto had so much power, and it was so uncontrolled, that it formed a large cloud over his location. Even now the entire building that they are in was covered in a fog of his ambient power. With it made it very easy for someone with even novice sensing capabilities to locate his general position. But the fog clouded their sensing capabilities to the point its potent power it was quite difficult to pinpoint his exact location, of her entire peerage. Only a Kendo was skilled enough in energy sensing to sense Naruto precisely, so while Rias had known Naruto was in the building, and was even looking for him, she had no way of knowing he was coming around the corner. A Kendo did though. A Kendo giggled before claiming, an accident like that made it less suspect. If you just walked up to him and started talking to him, it would have been suspicious. It was a good thing I did too. He was quite wary of us. Yes, he was very guarded. Rias agreed with a sigh. She quickly added, Kiryu Aika was very easy to talk to. I think our only shot to reach Naruto is to go through her. Yufufufu, how devious of you, Boku, a Kendo commented after giggling. I don't like thinking like that, Rias claimed with a frown. She honestly hated manipulating people, but with what happened to Issei last night, Naruto is my last option. I need him to join my peerage. Rias had come to the human world along with her friend, rival Sona to build her peerage. If only it was that easy. Apparently yokai, magical creatures, and supernaturally aware humans don't grow on trees. After starting Quo, Rias had started scouting the city for potential servants. Sona had done something different, and instead focused on investigating the students of Quo. Apparently Sona had suspected there wouldn't any battle-worthy servants in the city like Rias had believed. After several months the disappointed and disgruntled Rias had been forced to concede the lack of potential servants in the city. She turned her gaze towards Quo, only to find that Sona had both identified and recruited all the best prospects. Rias to this day still considered that her worst defeat at the hands of her rival, and her pride still stung to recall it. With her options running out, Rias had been forced to look through the students for someone Sona had missed. After months and months of diligent effort, someone appeared. Hyodo Issei. Rias eventually started suspecting that he had a sacred gear. The reason Sona missed him and Rias couldn't be sure was due to his pathetically low power level. Rias hadn't ever met a human with so little magical potential. While activated sacred gears give out unique power signal that can be sensed. Dormant sacred gears only create an anomaly within the user's own power. Identifying a small anomaly in Issei's pathetically small energy was a near impossible task. It was like examining a picture on a grain of rice or finding Waldo. It was so small it simply couldn't be done with any certainty. After months of trying, Rias was pretty sure he had a sacred gear, but couldn't be completely sure. She also had no clue if it was a battle-worthy sacred gear. Not all of the sacred gears were valuable for battle. Overall, Rias simply hadn't had enough information to reincarnate Issei. The arrival of fallen angels on the scene had presented an opportunity.
It was well known Azazel, the leader of the fallen angels, studied sacred gears, thus the Grigori had access to advanced sacred gear scanning systems, so when a fallen angel in disguise asked Issei out on a date, Rias had decided to make use of the situation. By observing the behavior of the fallen angel, Rias had been sure she could find out if Issei had a sacred gear, and if he did, whether it was a battle-worthy one.
There had been no downsides if the fallen angel left Issei alone. Then Rias would know for certain that he either lacked a sacred gear or it was a useless one. If the fallen angel killed him, due to having a powerful sacred gear,
Rias would then pull out a big damn's hero's moment and save Issei and explain the world of the supernatural and its dangers, offering him protection while slowly convincing him to reincarnate into a devil. If the fallen angel tried to take Issei to the Grigori, once again due to having a powerful sacred gear, again she would interfere and take him herself. Shed felt so clever, using the moves of her opponents to her own gain.
Things did not go so well in reality. Rias had spied on the date and became certain Issei had a sacred gear from the behavior of the fallen angel. When the end of the date came, the fallen angel had put Issei to sleep with a spell. Rias had been prepared to interfere if the fallen angel tried to kidnap him, but had been surprised when the fallen angel instead unrolled some sort of paper.
Pressing the paper to Issei's chest, Rias had watched in horror as the paper glowed and pulled out a red gauntlet of some kind. The fallen angel had removed Issei's sacred gear. It was well known the fallen angels knew how to remove sacred gears with a ritual, but it required time and an entire ceremony. This took the fallen angel 10 seconds tops. Rias had jumped out to try and interfere, but the fallen angel had only smirked at her smugly before teleporting away.
Rias even recognized the sacred gear, the boosted gear, one of the 13 Longinus. Rias had spent the entire night lamenting her failed opportunity to gain a Longinus wielder as a peerage member. At least there was a small bright side. Issei had survived the extraction. Despite the removal of a sacred gear supposedly killing the victim, they had just dropped him off in his home, and he didn't remember a thing today. His survival was a good thing for Rias, if he had been killed in the process. Rias' innate kindness would have compelled her to revive him. It would have been a waste of a pawn piece, not to be mean. But without his sacred gear Issei wasn't even worth a single pawn piece.
Average physical abilities, below average intelligence, no useful skills, and the lowest magical potential Rias had ever seen. Issei's sole advantage was that his lewd desires would have made him easy to motivate and control. As a Longinus user, Issei would have been priceless. Without his Longinus, Issei was near useless. It would take months or even years of dedicated training to make him even the slightest bit useful in a rating game, time Rias doesn't have.
It was almost sad in a way. Who knows how much Issei's life would have improved by joining Rias' peerage. It was impossible now. Issei was now going to live his life as a normal human, never knowing what he missed out on. Regardless, Rias was now deprived of her potential peerage member that she had spent months, almost a year, scouting. With Rias sure to come calling soon, she had to gain peerage members, preferably powerful ones. Out of options, Rias had to turn to her backup plan, Uzumaki Naruto. Sighing, Rias commented, "Getting Naruto to join us won't be an easy task. He is clearly wary of us. I don't believe he is aware of our status as devils, but he clearly knows we aren't normal." "So what are you going to do, Rias?" Kendo asked seriously. "I can't waste time. Tomorrow I'll ask Yuto to bring him to the clubroom, along with Kiryu Aika. Right now I feel Kiryu Aika may be my best bet to recruiting Naruto. After all, if you want to be Naruto's friend, you have to befriend her first. I also felt some power inside her. No doubt she holds potential as pawn," Rias explained. "Yufufufu, you seem unusually proactive, Boku," Kendo remarked with a chuckle. Rias frowned as she replied grimly, "I have to be. I don't have time to fool around anymore." With that she turned and walked away. "Guys, I'm home," Naruto called out to the empty room of the house as he noticed notes in the freezer. The blonde casually walked into the kitchen and read the letter. Naruto, an urgent mission came up. I took Leon with me for assistance. Lubbock has to attend his bookstore. So he'll come late at home. Do not worry though, Aflair is still here to attend your daily dinner. Reading the last part made Naruto's blood ran cold. For several good seconds he stood there motionless in silence until his thoughts returned as he felt two large yet soft mounds press against his back. Naruto craned his back and saw the beautiful woman rest her chin upon his shoulder. "Welcome home, Naruto," she spoke in a smooth and silky voice as her slender arms wrapped around his stomach. Naruto's face flushed crimson as he spoke. Hey Aflair-chan, can you please let go?" She let Harmonious giggle as she kissed him in the cheek, causing Naruto's face to flush deeper. "All right, I'll get dinner started." After being let go, Naruto looked over Aflair. In the eyes of the many she was a stunning woman with a voluptuous figure that rivaled both Kendo and Rias.
Her glossy dark brown reached down to her hips, which Naruto immediately noticed she wasn't wearing any pants, giving him a clear view of her undergarments, black panties with long brown garter belt stockings. Naruto was thankful she was wearing a white buttoned-up shirt since he wasn't sure if he could handle it. Seeing her large decorative bra and bountiful chest, her green eyes twinkled in mischief behind her red-rimmed glasses.
Her beauty mark made it more devious and added an extra spice of sex appeal. With a look like that, Naruto knew she walked out on him with barely any clothes on purpose. Naruto let out a small puff as he tried to keep his hormones at bay. The blonde sometimes wondered when this did all happen. During his arrival in the new dimension and settling in, the blonde had been doing continuous loads of mission in the first 2 months. Naruto admitted the mission workload had been taking a toll on him, which Azazel then offered a helping hand. At first Naruto thought it was going to be Varley as his partner, but it turned out to be Aflair.
To put it bluntly, she was there to babysit him, something the blonde gripped about, but the reason was solid since Aflair was more knowledgeable and experienced, something that Naruto lacked. They spent a good time as partners, even to the point she created a fake human identity, going by Hasegawa Chisato, and became the nurse in his junior high just to work more closely with each other. Shame she couldn't get the job in Kuo. Making it all the weirder for him since that day, due to not getting the job, Aflair's attitude became much more forward with him, especially when she moved into the house. Naruto remembered the first time he had been blushing and stuttering a storm at every time she wore something scantily clad, or the angles she posed that garnered very suggestive tones. She was good actor to boot. Many would believe she just got out of bed, but that was far from the truth.
Every day was challenge for him when he got back from Kuo Academy. She held nothing back as she barely wore anything decent. Especially when she claimed to be stepping in and substituting for the swim club. It was made worse when she couldn't get out of the said swimsuit, which was specially made for her, which she called Naruto for aid and used the lubricant to easily make the zipper slip off.
Something slipped out all right. She was even forward enough to rub his thigh suggestively at a public restaurant that she had invited him towards dinner to. Every day it was another challenge of self-control. The blonde feared he might succumb to the temptations, especially when Leon joined in for the laughs. Naruto bitterly believed he was going to die of blue balls if this kept up. Even his so-called love for Sakura was suffering major cracks at this point in time. Naruto was certain that she spent her day on trying to figure out a way for him to forget his love for Sakura, as she claimed his love was false in a sense. The blonde admitted to himself that he came to see it that way, but was stubbornly denying the thoughts as well. He'll probably reach his answer when she at least sees her again. With that time, Aflair would spend it in trying to make him succumb to her influence and instinct.
He stopped complaining at that point, and Naruto asked as he picked up a drink from the fridge, "So do you know what mission Agenda took?" Aflair hummed in thought as she recalled, "If I remember, she heard rumors stirring about the Cows Brigade. A reliable source tipped her off on a possible hideout of theirs. I just hope Shusha's careful." Naruto beamed as he optimistically spoke, "Hey, don't underestimate Agenda. With Pumpkin at her side, Shusha's force to be reckoned, TT Abayo." Aflair giggled as he stroked his cheek. "It makes me jealous of how you praise her." The blonde blushed but shrugged it off. He was only telling the truth. Jiraiya didn't recruit her just because she was pretty. But then again, it was probably a bonus. They were all mostly gathered due to their rising popularity of their high request of missions. Noting the difficulty and timing of completing all of the mission requests on time, Jiraiya decided to employ other mercenaries under his wing. Selectively chosen by him, Najenda was strong and the first recruit of the Sukedachi.
Tagging along with Leon and Lubbock, later on Najenda became Jiraiya's protégé in the spy network, subsequently making her in charge when he was away on affairs, or what he affectionately likes to call research. It made Naruto suspect if he was at the hot springs finding inspiration for his next installment of Ica Ica. Everyone dropped to their knees in tears when tactics came out. The blonde took a sip from his drink as he made himself towards the table and waited.
"Sorry for the long wait, Naruto. I know you have been waiting," Chisato said happily as she put the many dishes on the table. Naruto couldn't fight the rumbling of his stomach. As always, Aflair enjoyed serving him good food. It was at the point he couldn't help himself but to give her praise for her efforts. "Your cooking skills are amazing, Aflair." What Aflair had served for Naruto was what one could normally find on the table in households. But from the dishes used to the seasoning used, the meals were highly and delicately cooked that one would find and served in high-quality restaurants.
What had made him even more surprised was the quantity of the dishes, which was definitely not made with balanced nutrition in mind. Radish patty, curry rice, potato stew, Caesar salad, ginger roast pork, beef omelette rice, chicken nuggets, and miso soup, that had occupied most of the space on the table. She had overdone it. Other than the salad and miso soup, 4 of the dishes was meat, and additionally, there were curry rice and omelette rice. It made Naruto wonder on how she managed to land her human job as an infirmary teacher. Especially the dishes she served him were unbalanced, nutritious meals. "Come, please begin." "All right, then I'll start now." Naruto put his hands together facing Hasegawa, who sat opposite him, and asked, Where should I start?" Every dish seemed to be a great option, though she may have more attachment towards a particular dish, so it would probably better to ask first. Aflair smiled at his consideration as she spoke. "These dishes were made for you, so just start from wherever you want." Naruto smiled bashfully as he listened. It was because he realized in what the dishes were made for. Not dishes that she were good at, not dishes she had wanted just anyone else to eat, but dishes to make him eat happily. He immediately started with the radish patty, cutting it into bite-sized pieces. The juices immediately emphasized its rich taste, the flavor flowing freely through his mouth, and happily gave his thanks once more. "Thank you for the meal. I'm glad that it's towards your liking, Naruto. Don't feel ashamed if you want some more." Aflair smiled as he watched the man of her interest happily enjoying the dishes she made. It made her feel a bit jealous. She wished he would eat her. A large variety, coupled with a large quantity, were the reasons that originally made Naruto think that it wasn't possible for him to finish everything, but unexpectedly, he couldn't put down his chopsticks, and just like that, watching the smiling Aflair, the various dishes were finished clean within an hour or so. His stomach was full, satisfied by the lovely meals that Aflair served him with. He had wanted to help wash the dishes but was rejected as she stated, "If you want to thank me, I want you to help me with another thing." Hence, he agreed, but now it was decision he started to regret. "Are you sure about this?" Naruto asked weakly as his cheeks flushed in embarrassment. "Yes, just do it. Please don't say it like that, Tobayo." Naruto spoke softly as he wrapped his hands around her from behind as Aflair was currently washing the dishes. She had wanted to experience the scene commonly seen in TV series, where after cooking for a man, the man would give the woman a sweet look from behind her back. Normally she had cooked for Naruto before, but that was when the entire crew of the Sukedachi was together at the table. Naruto and Jiraiya could cook pretty well, but were abhorrently lazy at making home-cooked dinner since they preferred instant and on-the-go meals. This counted the same towards Najenda herself, but made effort in her culinary skills. Lubbock and Leon, though, were just freeloaders that barely tried. Aflair was the smiling angel that graced their kitchen ever since she moved in. To not restrict her movements, Naruto had his arms around her waist and their body close together. Immediately, he felt her softness, warmth and fragrance. Though the position and angle was quite inviting and dangerous,
especially when their height difference came to play due to Naruto being 2 inches taller than Aphelios' 5 foot and 6-inch height. Having the 2 top buttons undone in her dress shirt, he could clearly see her top halves of her overflowing breasts and bra. Aha, this is quite nice. It's a breath of fresh air to hear Naruto's voice coming from a different angle. Simply continuing washing the dishes, Aphleia happily smiled and said, "You're quite innocent, Naruto, easily embarrassed, but you're quite the pervert. I'm impressed that you're able to hide it." Naruto's ears blared in alarm as he immediately tried to defend himself. "I can explain. It was all Ero-senen's idea to go peeking at the baths. He practically forced me to tag along with him." "I never said anything about you peeping." Aphleia let out a soft giggle at the new revelation. Guess Leone was telling the truth about the hot spring incident after all. The blonde gulped nervously as he remembered that faithful night. Her breasts weren't as big as Aphleia, but they were a sight to behold. "Okay, I confess I'm guilty of the crime." "Did you get excited at seeing her?" "What do you mean?" Aphleia stuck out her hip, as if to suggest at what she was implying. Her soft cheeks were then begun to grind towards his private area. The sleeping beast that was tucked away in his pants and boxes was immediately awakened. Aphleia gasped as a giggle escaped, feeling the bulge come into contact. For someone of your age to be thinking about such things, it probably wouldn't just end with just some dishes being washed, right? Naruto stood quiet as his mind was going haywire over the situation before him. Many of his thoughts were screaming to just do it. Another was vocal at saying that he should put her in her place. Naruto's body trembled as his rising heart beat more erratically as he hugged his caretaker more strongly. "Aphleia-chan, please stop. I don't think I can control myself any longer." She could feel his hot breath whispering over her ear and yelped excitedly as his hardened bulge easily separated the cheeks of her ass, finding itself lodged firmly between the shapely fleshes. "Please tell me to let go." Aphleia closed the tap and turned her head towards him. Her face dyed in red as her beautiful green eyes gazed upon his blue. Her breath inches away from each other. "Embrace me, Naruto." Naruto lifted his over her and slowly unbuttoned her white dress shirt. He slowly moved even closer to her, pressing their lips together, and kissed her. She showed no resistance when their tongues crossed. Their kissing got even more ferocious as time passed by. After quite a while, she parted, and while looking straight into his eyes, she said, "I'm glad that I saved my first kiss after all this time. I'm happy that you'll be my first." Following that, she gave another charming smile. Naruto immediately lost it after hearing that tidbit of information. "I'll make it something to remember." Her dress shirt fell to the floor as well as Naruto's pants. Aphleia grunted as Naruto's cock drove between her ass cheeks. Their bodies increased in friction as Aphleia lowered her body down so Naruto's cock would be higher. As she lowered herself, Aphleia moaned in surprise at the current position of Naruto's hand over her breast. As she dropped, his hands slid up her body and suddenly he had both hands full of Aphleia's bountiful orbs. Her hard nipples pressed into his palms and the thin material offered no protection for her. She may as well have been naked. Naruto quickly took advantage and began kneading her tits. Aphleia moaned harder than before. "Hey guys, I'm home. The manager was cool enough to let me take an early leave. So what's for? What the fuck?" Lubbock was a young man who was around the same age as Naruto. He had green eyes and shoulder-length green hair with a pair of red goggles on top. He currently wore his work uniform, but discarded the apron in the living room. He was happy to come home and eat whatever delicious meal Aphleia had cooked for them. He walked to the kitchen table to see if he didn't miss out on her on wearing something scantily clad like always. He got what he wished but not the image he wanted to see. Aphleia bent over the sink in her undergarments with Naruto's tool firmly sandwiched by her delicious derriere as well as his hand over her breast. Lubbock stood there stunned before the scene as Naruto and Aphleia looked horrified at being caught like a bunch of naughty teenagers. Lubbock couldn't handle the scene and passed out. Naruto's dick that was once hard went straight to limp and rested on Aphleia's left cheek. I should have listened to Azazel's suggestion in reading the volumes of Icha Icha to the big guy, Naruto thought grimly. This was no way a coincidence. This was God's way of payback towards him, bastard. Naruto held his head down in shame for the rest of the school day. He was too ashamed to look at anyone in the face. He was lucky that Lubbock fell hard enough to give himself amnesia, or he either didn't want to acknowledge the scene that he was bared witness to. Naruto and Aflair didn't try to finish off where they started as they were too embarrassed over the mishap even happening. Naruto wanted to tear Lubbock apart for ruining his chances, but that would be a lie. He was glad it didn't went farther down the line. After a year of being teased shamelessly, Naruto eventually succumbed to his desires and inner lust in wanting to commit the deed with her. But now that he got some partial release over it, his little guy wasn't going to be hijacking his brain anytime soon. The majority of the students left. Katase and Murayama went towards their club while Kiryu made her way towards the blonde's desk. "Hey Naruto. Are you going club hunting or what?" Kiryu asked as she found it weird to see him to be this embarrassed. "The tennis club is next. Kiyame has been asking for you to go again for a while. Tell her I'm gonna have to cancel." Naruto lifted his head up to face Kiryu. Kiryu rose a brow as she took a chair to sit at the opposite side with him and asked, "So what happened, Grump? Did something erotic happen in your life and then you pussied out on the golden opportunity to get laid?" Naruto looked away from her gaze as his face burned in embarrassment. Why was she this damn good? It was completely unfair. TT Abayo. "Oh my god, shut up. Oh my god, shut up. Oh my god. Shut up. You're a sad little boy that thought that he could fly close to the sun." Kiryu smiled as she practically tried her best not laugh. She was failing, of course. "You're a massive pervert that has just as much porn as the perverted trio combined, and half of it is yaoi," Naruto pointed out furiously. "All Japanese schoolgirls read yaoi blondie." Kiryu looked at her nails in interest as she turned to her companion with a dangerous grin. "Since you know half of my porn collection is yaoi, then it must be that you have obviously watched it. After all, some of the covers lied." Naruto immediately paled as his eyes shifted down nervously. "Well, someone's in the closet. I'm not gay." Naruto immediately slammed the table defensively, but it did not make Kiryu's grin falter one bit. "Okay. You're armored gay. Seriously, Aika. This is not funny, TT Abayo." "It's a little funny." A small cough announced its presence, but strangely it sounded like suppressed laughter. Naruto and Kiryu turned their heads over their new company. The princely Bishonen has entered the room in the form brightening smile that would make fangirls melt and pass out in pure bliss. He was handsome as the rumors would speak about him, blonde hair like Naruto but in a lighter shade, his eyes were gray like steel and had beauty mark under his left eye. He wore the uniform of Quo and made it look like he was a proper gentleman. Everyone called him by his last name Kiba, but Naruto went with his first name, for he had another friend, asshole named Kiba. Naruto didn't care about that as he immediately grabbed the princely Bishonen by the collar and asked in a grave tone, "How much did you hear? Don't lie to me. I have ways to make you talk, speak, TT Abayo." Yuto looked away as his face flushed. "My, you're quite forward." Naruto immediately pushed him away. Kiryu fell from her chair laughing as Yuto joined as well. He heard all of it. Finally, after minutes of passing, the laughter died down. "Forgive me, Uzumaki-san. I couldn't help myself." Yuto let out an apologetic smile. Naruto would have taken it as sincere if he didn't laughed at that second. "Why are you here?" Naruto asked bluntly as he pocketed his hands. Yuto coughed as he composed himself and began to do his duty. "Uzumaki-san and Kiryu-san, I'm here on behalf of Rias Gremori-senpai. She wishes to speak with you too. She sent me to bring you to the clubroom. Go. Get it over with." Kiryu answered immediately for Naruto as he nudged his shoulder. "Do I have to?" Naruto complained. He didn't want to go anywhere with pretty boy right now after that last scuffle. "I'm sorry, but I must insist," Yuto retorted, his smile not wavering. He quickly added, "You'll really want to hear what she has to say." Kiryu patted his back as he scowled at her. She returned in kind with a grin. "Fine," Naruto reluctantly said. "There ya go. Was that so hard?" Aika let out a small laugh as Naruto childlessly stuck out his tongue at her. "I'll be waiting outside patiently for you, sweetie." "Ah, Kiryu-san, you're supposed to come along too?" Yuto re-informed his classmate. Well, someone doesn't like his testicles right now. Smiling, Yuto turned and started walking as he said, "Follow me, Uzumaki-san." Naruto let out a snort as he began following him outside as they traversed the hallways. Then again, he couldn't blame him, he was protecting his safeguarded jewels. As they walked, Naruto considered the possible outcomes towards his situation. There was a chance Rias might try to blackmail him on some sort with some underhanded motive. What she would want was a question mark though. His optimism believed she just wanted to talk or have a friendly chat. His gut had the feeling that it wasn't it. Optimism away for now. There was some motive behind it all. Incapable of coming to any conclusions, he had no choice but to wait for answers to be given to him. So he obediently followed Yuto. The walk was quite long. Yuto led him into the forest to the old school building, which was the building the furthest back into the school. The old school building was an aged building that could use a new coat of paint. It was even labeled as one of the 7 wonders of the school. Despite its aged appearance, though, Naruto failed to notice any broken windows or structural issues. It wasn't pretty, but it was solid. That was Naruto's thought until they entered. While the outside was run down, the inside was immaculate. The hardwood floors were polished, and the paint on the walls not faded in the least. The stark contrast was only more suspicious. If enough care was put in to make the inside so nice, why wasn't the outside touched up a bit? It was almost as if they wanted the other students to avoid the building, a disguise to prevent unwanted company. Naruto's thoughts were put to a stop when Yuto came to a stop before a door. Knocking, he called in, "Buku, I brought him." "Yes, come in." Yuto then opened the door, and Naruto had to physically stop himself from recoiling. Naruto was far from an accomplished sensor, not even having basic skills in sensing, but he would have to be blind not to feel the power coming from the room. It wasn't chakra. It was devil energy, powerful ones at that. Great. Just freaking great. Alert. Naruto reluctantly stepped into the room. He quickly scanned the room. The lighting in the room was slightly dim as it was only lit by a few candles. The window being closed, otherwise it was actually a very nice room. Very large, it was in a Victorian style. There were chairs along the wall, but the main seating seemed centered around 2 couches and a large desk. Weirdly, there was what appeared to be a shower in the corner. What drew much of Naruto's attention were the strange symbols. Several small ones were placed on the walls, but the main one was a weird circle-type symbol on the ground. Naruto felt an unusual concentration of energy from it. The other sources of the energy were the occupants. Rias frowned as she asked, "Yuto, where's Kiryu Aika?" Yuto smiled nervously as Naruto grinned behind him and answered, "She threatened his jewels, and if he would have pressed on persistently to come along, then Yuto would find himself landed in jail for sexual harassment." "I'm afraid that's all true, Buku." He bowed apologetically at his master. Rias let out a cute grunt at the minor setback before she calmed. She just wanted Kiryu presences to ease Naruto. Changing back to her usual demeanor, she then stated warmly, "Thank you for coming. I have some very important business to discuss with you. Firstly, we should do introduction, Yuto." Yuto smiled at them and gave a small bow as he said, "My name is Kiba Yuto, 2nd year. Pleased to meet you." "Tuju Koneko, 1st year." A quiet voice spoke up. Naruto looked at the speaker. It was a girl with a very small build, standing at just 4 foot 6 inches. The top of her head wouldn't even come up to Naruto's shoulder. Naruto really had difficulty believing she was 15 years old. She looked 12 or 13. Not that it was a bad thing. She had the adorable factor in spades. Even Naruto had to fight the urge to hug her. He had a weakness for small and cute things. Koneko had unique white hair that was done in a bob cut except for 2 longer bangs that framed her face. 2 black, cat-shaped hairpins were on each side of her head. Her hazel eyes were more yellow than Murayama's hazel eyes. She was wearing the school uniform, although she seemed to have discarded the cape. Yufufufu, Himejima Akeno, 3rd year. Rias Gremori, also a 3rd year. I'm also the president of the Occult Research Club. Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto grunted out shortly, "Great. Please take a seat. Akeno will make you some tea." Rias declared with a smile. Naruto took a seat in one of the couches nearby. He was already making himself at home as he rested his arm at the hem and immediately began drumming his fingers. Kendo quickly served them some tea. While it was unwise to drink in a stranger's house, the blonde felt no fear of any poisonings in the tea as he automatically took a quick sip from the cup. "I once again want to thank you for coming, and I apologize for any inconvenience it might cause," Rias started. "Can you just get to the point of why you called me here?" Naruto asked somewhat rudely. He wasn't in the mood to hear pleasantries. Ara, you're quite untrained, aren't you?" Kendo giggled as she opened her violet, easily noting the predatory gaze she gave him. Naruto paled, shifting his position at the end of the couch and pointed rudely, "Don't come closer, you sadist." Spending his years in guts and training with Ero Sennin, the Toad Sage had made him learn some tricks as well as mundane ones. The crown went to the day he told him a very disturbing secret of the proper-looking woman in front of him. "Yufufu, seems it has gotten an already perfect measure of your heart," Rias commented in an amused smile. Kendo just smiled as she replied, not taking her sight from the blonde, "I am offended, Buku. I am not merely a sadist but am also a masochist at heart." "You said that, but we rarely see you show such a side." Kendo, Yuto pointed out, "I'm willing to confess that I've been having my doubts lately." Ara, it seems that Naruto isn't the only one that's going to need discipline tonight." Kendo laughed as a dark aura shrouded around her, making Kiba back away as he smiled awkwardly. "Look, I don't care why I'm here, but my first demand in staying here is that the sadist stays a minimum of 5 feet away from me," Naruto demanded as he scooted more to the edge of the couch. Rias just watched this in slight amusement, unbothered by Naruto's demand. It was tad unexpected but amusing at the same time. The amusement faded into cold calculation as she focused back on him, though. It was impossible for anyone supernaturally aware to ignore Naruto. His level of raw power was ridiculous, combined with his lacking control over it. He created a cloud that acted as a beacon for the entire city. Both Rias and Sona had taken note of him as soon as he started school at Quo. Sona actually estimated that Naruto had 5 times more power than either of them did. As high-class devils, both Rias and Sona were naturally blessed with a level of power most humans couldn't hope to match. For him to have 5 times their power was ridiculous. That was a high-tier power level for an ultimate-class devil, just under Satan-level power. If Issei had been a diamond in the rough, Naruto was a slap in the face. It was clear to anyone his raw potential. Neither Rias nor Sona had recruited him for 2 reasons. The first reason was the lack of information on him. Uzumaki Naruto was a true unknown to both of them. Naruto's level of power was not natural. Even the greatest freak of nature humanity had ever produced wouldn't have such a high power level naturally. He couldn't be unaware of his power. He had to have been trained, experimented on, guided, something, which meant he had an important past. Without knowing the past, it was impossible to estimate his abilities, allegiance, feeling on devils, etc. Peerages were so important to the power and influence of a devil that the idea of recruiting an unknown like Naruto would be considered foolhardy. Secondly, he was willful, while not outright rebellious or obstinate. Everyone knew Uzumaki Naruto lived life by his own pace. If anything, the people around him tended to be drawn into his rhythm. Now, it wasn't a totally bad thing in a peerage member. Even reincarnated devils needed to be able to think for themselves to a certain degree. Mindless drones were very rarely useful. But a servant that was unwilling to bow their head or listen to orders wasn't ideal either. Kings needed to have a certain amount of over their peerages for a number of reasons. In rating games, sacrifices were necessary. Plans needed to be followed. Kings were also responsible for their servants. The actions of servants reflected on their kings. A servant simply wasn't allowed to do what they wanted. They had to follow rules, follow social custom. Naruto had all the makings of a powerful servant, but he had all the makings of a hard-to-control one as well. Sometimes a weaker servant was better than a powerful wildcard. Altogether, neither Sona nor Rias had been willing to recruit him. Sona had actually expressed that she wasn't interested in him. Sona was a bit more authoritative and meticulous than Rias, so Naruto hadn't been anywhere close to her ideal servant. Honestly, Rias was probably going to recruit him sooner or later. She has simply been focusing on Issei. But with Issei now out of the picture, she had no other options. Getting back into the moment, Rias then ordered, "Akeno, could you please comply with Uzumaki-kun's demands?" Akeno didn't really want to answer to the demands. She was having too much fun watching him squirm under her gaze. Rias' scathing look changed her mind, causing her to sigh and announced, "Understood. I shall not get within 5 feet next to Uzumaki-san, for now at least." Alright, now that we're settled in, it's time to get down to business. As I said before, I have something very important to discuss with you, Uzumaki-kun. Something life-changing, Rias explained carefully. Having gone over what to say with Akeno before this, Naruto didn't say anything, just curiously waiting for her to continue. Taking a deep breath, Rias continued, "The Occult Research Club is a mere facade, nothing more than a hobby, a cover. I'll be frank, Naruto-san, everyone in this club is a devil." Her declaration was punctuated by everyone present, besides Naruto of course, unfurling black wings that resembled bat wings. Naruto managed to keep his cool. The only sign of his surprise was a brief widening of his eyes and a tensing of his muscles. That was all that Rias needed to conclude. "You already know about the supernatural world. I guess it should be of no surprise since you have so much. It would be ridiculous if you didn't know. How much do you know?" "Let's just assume that I know that the supernatural exists. Every legend is true no matter how ridiculous it sounds, though I admit I'm only adept in the legends of monsters and sacred gears, the rest not so much. What is the point in you admitting all this to me?" Naruto replied carefully, ready to act if they attack. He still can't detect any malicious intent, but he doesn't see why they're telling him this. There must be a motive. "I see. I expected more, but this changes nothing. As for my motive, you must first understand what are referred to as the 3 factions." Rias stated with a small frown on her face at his apparent ignorance. It was quickly removed before she clarified for him. The 3 factions are the devils, fallen angels, and angels. They are also sometimes referred to as the Bible factions. Long ago there was the Great War. Devils reside in the underworld. Referred to by humans as hell, fallen angels are angels that have been cast down to the underworld due to their wicked nature, with their wings turning black as a sign and punishment. There they did their best to destroy us devils to gain dominance of the underworld. A battle that has been raging since medieval times. Then there are normal angels, the servants of the biblical God. On the biblical God's orders, they do their best to eliminate both devils and fallen angels. This has created a 3-way standoff. The Great War consists of the time period of the heaviest fighting. It ended in a stalemate. Although still in conflict, all 3 sides had suffered such heavy casualties that none of the 3 sides could continue the fight or they would be destroyed. This has resulted in a temporary state of peace. While there is no true peace between the 3 factions, there have been no outright battles, so I guess it counts. Rias then pulled out a chess set. To Naruto's confusion, he quickly noted that there was only one side, with the pieces glowing red. The set was also missing a bishop, knight, rook, queen, and king. Rias quickly continued, "The massive losses we devils suffered meant that we could not repopulate our numbers without mass breeding. Thus, the evil peace system was created. This system allows a high-class devil to reincarnate members of other species as devils. That reincarnated devil is then considered part of that devil's peerage.
The evil pieces are based on chess. The high-class devil, I myself in this case, represents the king. Everyone I choose to resurrect as a devil is represented by the piece used to resurrect them. The entire set consists of 8 pawns, 2 bishops, 2 knights, 2 rooks, and 1 queen. As you can see, I am missing a queen, knight, rook, and bishop. Akeno is my queen, Koneko is my rook, Yuto is my knight, my bishop is currently incapacitated."
"So am I right to guess you wish to have me join your peerage?" Naruto questioned blankly, hiding his emotions. Rias nodded before clarifying for him, "Yes, That is why I called you here. We have ascertained that you are a good candidate. You have high magical reserves that it should be humanly possible, and your physical specs are high. I understand the idea might sound unpleasant or even repulsive, but becoming a devil has many benefits. What benefits exactly? It seems our idea of devils isn't exactly accurate, so can you give me a clarification on what exactly becoming devils would mean for me? Naruto asked, carefully choosing every word. Rias was happy with the question. Sure, Naruto looked cautious, but still interested in the idea overall. There would be a number of physical benefits. The reincarnation process physically changes you into devils. The process isn't perfect for a number of species, but it is for humans. While devils look human and are even physically compatible humans, our bodies are generally superior. You would become stronger, faster, and more durable. You could see in the dark.
And all your senses would be enhanced. You would also gain access to demonic power, which can be used to perform a form of magic. You would be able to fly through the use of wings.
A benefit that many humans care about is an increased lifespan. Devils can easily live for 1,000 years, and living 2 or 3 millennia isn't impossible for a devil.
Rias explained before continuing, there are a number of other advantages as well. As a member of my peerage, you would technically be a part of the Gremory clan. As one of the remaining pillar families, the Gremory clan is one of the most powerful families in the underworld. You would gain financial support if needed, and we would be able to provide aid in other ways as well. You would also be given ownership of a territory within our land in the underworld.
The blonde would admit the idea of becoming a devil humored him, especially with the loads of benefits, though it was just humor and nothing more. And what about the cons? Naruto then asked suspiciously. After all, it was a little bit too much if there weren't also some downsides. Rias frowned, but still answered honestly. Firstly, as a member of my peerage you would be my servant, not like a butler or maid. But there would be duties you would be obligated to fulfill.
Not to mention you would have to obey our laws, as a devil.
You would also gain our enemies and weaknesses as well. Even without war occurring, angels and fallen angels are always a threat to devils. Devils have a weakness to light. Ordinary sunlight will weaken new or less powerful devils. Angels and fallen angels also utilize a powerful form of light magic which both burns and poisons devils. The biblical God also created the heaven system, which punishes devils when interacting with objects or places associated with him, such as churches, crosses, holy water, and the Bible. So that means that only you would not only be enslaving me, but dragging me into a war which doesn't concern me. Naruto questioned critically, though on purpose. He knew of the peace and there hasn't been a big scuffle since Naruto knew Azazel. Firstly, there is no war, we have enemies, but I have no plans to be dragging you off to life and death battles anytime soon, Rias stated quickly. She then continued firmly, I also wouldn't be enslaving you. You would be my servant, which is your voluntary decision. You would only be my slave if I forced you to become a devil. There is a difference. Naruto smirked as he continued to question, can you tell me more about devils as a whole? If I would say become a devil, what things would I need to know? Nodding, Rias informed them, devils are divided into classes based on strength and rank. Low class, mid class, high class, and ultimate class. I am a high-class devil. Everyone else in my peerage is a low-class devil. All reincarnated devils start out as low-class devils, but you can eventually gain the ability to promote to the next rank. If you ever reach the rank of high class, you would be able to petition for your own set of evil pieces like the ones I showed you. If you ever reached ultimate class, you would be given your very own territory in the underworld. The complete leaders of the devil race are the 4 great Satans, Lucifer, Beelzebub, Leviathan, and Asmodeus. Under them are the 72 pillar families. Currently only 34 pillar families remain, pure blood devils. The children of pillar families are automatically classified as high-class devils. I myself am a high-class devil as I am the heiress of the Gremory clan. Naruto whistled at the information. Even though he knew, you only told me that you reincarnated devils with the pieces. Can you tell me more about the peerage? Like I said before, the evil piece system was created to emulate chess. The high-class devil, I myself in this case, is the king. The 15 members of my peerage consist of the queen, 2 rooks, 2 knights, 2 bishops, and 8 pawns, Rias announced. What is the difference? Naruto asked as he leaned forward to look closer. Each piece confers different benefits on the person to receive it. The king doesn't receive any benefits, the ownership of a peerage being the benefit. Pawns receive no special benefits beyond the natural devil capabilities. Bishops receive enhanced magical capabilities. They are worth 3 pawns. Knights receive enhanced speed. They are also worth 3 pawns. Yuto is my only knight. Rooks receive enhanced strength and durability. They are worth 5 pawns. Koneko is my only rook. The queen receives a mic of the 3. They are worth 9 pawns. Akeno is my queen, Rias explained. What piece are you planning to make me? Naruto asked. The question ended up sounding like he had already decided, making Rias rather hopeful. A pawn, Rias answered simply. Weren't you acknowledging my high-level power a few minutes ago? Naruto looked rather disappointed and admitted a bit hurt. Rias asked in amusement, you think that pawns aren't a good piece? Well, aren't they? Naruto asked while as he scratched his cheek awkwardly. Pawns are usually sacrificed as, well, pawns, ya know. While that is somewhat true, I actually didn't tell you everything about pawn pieces. Rias claimed in amusement, holding up a pawn, she clarified. Pawns are technically the weakest pieces on the board. But they are also the most versatile, when used correctly. They can even decide the game. The special ability of pawns is the ability of promotion. When a pawn enters deep into enemy territory or is given permission by their king, they can promote into any other piece besides the king. So while other pieces are fixed, the pawn has the ability to change depending on the situation. A skilled pawn is just as valuable as any other. It's ultimately suitable for you and your vast power you possess. I see. I think I have enough information for now, Naruto said with a little smile at the praise Rias gave him. He liked it when his strength was acknowledged. Rias quickly jumped in and asked him, so you have reached your decision in becoming a devil in my peerage? She looked rather excited at the idea of him becoming a devil. His expression then changed from a light smile and became blank for a few seconds before he clasped his hand, lowering his head a bit and announced sincerely, sorry Rias, I will have to decline. You make the whole becoming a devil sound pretty cool and positive, but I have a goal that I want to achieve and becoming a part of your peerage kind of puts a huge roadblock for me. Trust me, my goal is pretty complex. For a visible of seconds Rias' expression became sorrowful, causing Naruto to flinch inwardly, then it switched to an understanding smile. Her tone couldn't be hid sadly. I see. It must be nice to having a dream to pursue. I hope for the best of luck for you Naruto. I guess I don't have to worry about you outing our secret since you respect the supernatural order, correct? Uzumaki-kun. Why yeah. Naruto hesitated over the lump in his throat and faced Rias apologetically. Rias, I'm sorry if I. It's all right Uzumaki-kun. There's no hard feelings. I should have expected you to decline. Guess I grew too hopeful. Rias smiled bitterly. Naruto could tell that she was trying her best in not to break down and cry right there and now. He wasn't sure why she wanted him to join her peerage. He wanted to ask but his voice was too heavy to speak out. He was afraid of making the situation worse, so he could only nod understandably. Akeno will show you the way out. Uzumaki-kun, Rias gestured towards her servant. Strangely enough Naruto didn't bring up the 5 feet distance rule between them. Akeno didn't even try to tease him or make a joke at his expense. Instead she put a facade of a smile and motioned her hand towards the door. The blonde merely nodded as he walked. Akeno opened the door for him. He took a second and paused. The scene of the outside felt like an eternity for him. If he walked out then the curtain would close, just another window closed. He would move on, still go to school, and as he finished his 2nd year he would just return back to his world to go about in fulfilling his promise to Sakura and bring back Sasuke from Orochimaru's clutches and then make his dream of becoming Hokage a reality. It sounded simple and easy to do, but then why was he feeling guilty about the entire situation? It was a feeling Naruto vaguely recalled. The blonde let out a deep sigh and took step forward at the door, easily followed with the second and third. He heard the door close slowly behind him. Don't look back, don't look back, don't look back, don't look back and just move forward, come on, don't look back, TT Abayo. Naruto looked back. He craned his head slightly back to take a sneak peek. It wouldn't hurt him at least, but it did. Naruto caught Rias' gaze and they were locked for what it looked like hours until the door closed before them. He finally remembered. She needed help. He looked forward as he struggled with his hand sign, but eventually disappeared in a trail of leaves. Kiryu waited patiently at the entrance of the school and smirked as she saw her friend. So how did it go? They offered me a decision to join their group by becoming a devil. Did you accept? Kiryu asked in interest of the idea. No. I rejected it honestly. Kiryu could hear the heaviness in his voice. She wasn't sure why he was upset but decided to converse about it in the next day. Ready to go home? Kiryu smiled at him, hoping it would cheer him. Yeah, same route as always. Same. Naruto nodded with a light smile. He picked up Kiryu. She stayed quite over the walk, not bothered that he carried her home in bridal style. After that he went home. It took him 10 minutes to reach his neighborhood. He walked rather slowly. House after house looked more upper class as he strolled down the walkway. Many wouldn't believe a street punk-looking kid like Naruto would live or even afford to live in these houses, but then again he wouldn't have earned the title as the most unpredictable ninja of Konoha. Finally he reached. It wasn't house, it was a mansion. Many would expect ninjas to live in a more secluded place since they were in incognito, but no one would ever suspect them in hiding out in a mansion. After all, his master Jiraiya told him that the greatest secret of being a great ninja is not looking like a ninja. Entering the door, Naruto took off his shoes and went to the living room and took a dive in the couch. Nanjenda was still out with Leon on taking their mission. Lubbock went and decided to lend a helping hand to the group and also to try and woo his crush at his awesome moves and skills. Some things never changed with him. Aflair was out for groceries, so she would come later to cook dinner. So how was school, brat? Why was Chuebla? Naruto muffled out as his face was firmly planted, then moved his head to the side to see his mentor's presence. Jiraiya sat the other side of the couch, sprawled lazily as his student, with a mess of notes scattered all over the middle of the desk and carpet. He was a statured and physically built for a man who was hitting his mid-50s. He had wart and minor wrinkles in the area of his mouth that hinted his age. He wore a short green kimono with matching pants. He didn't wear his sleeveless haori nor his mesh armor, due attracting too much unwanted attention with the locals, even though Jiraiya could get away with it just by saying he was cosplaying and visiting a convention, but admittedly he was getting tired of disrespectful brats telling him his ninja outfit sucked and mocked him for being an old geezer and still cosplaying. It didn't help matters when Naruto joined in and caused a bigger ruckus. Jiraiya sighed as he asked his student's dilemma. So what happened? Did you picked up a fight with Aika and got roasted again? Naruto grumbled incoherent words at the reminder. Jiraiya took that as his yes. The blonde sighed as he retold the events with his meeting with the devil herself and how she offered him an opportunity to be reincarnated into a devil with the benefits of a long lifespan, money, fame and power, with the con of being an enemy of the Lord himself and any extremist or racist who had a hate boner for devilhood or anything associated with it. You know, Orochimaru would jump at the first given opportunity of a longer life. It isn't immortality, but it's something for the guy. Jiraiya chuckled as he took a swig at his beer. He would drink that. So why the glum-faced kid? You rejected her offer and moved on without any of your limbs and kidneys missing. No harm, no foul. I looked back. God damn it, brat. What the hell did I tell you about looking back? Look back and you'll only guilt-trip yourself, thus digging yourself into a deeper hole, Naruto replied automatically. Exactly. She looked really hurt when I rejected her offer. Brat, I'm warning you. I think Shusha's crying right now. Well, now I got to punch you in the face. One question though. Ask away. Shusha's Rias Gremory, right? The hot redhead chick with the bombshell of a body. Naruto's face donned a hue of pink at the comment Jiraiya made about Rias. Naruto would admit at the beginning of his first year at Quo he gained a healthy attraction towards the occult club's president. Her crimson blood hair instantly caught his eye the moment she walked down the hallway. He would have immediately got up to her and say that he found her red hair pretty. Heck, the blonde could have met the Gremory heir a lot more earlier if it weren't her blatant devil energy that immediately made Naruto run away at the opposite direction. Azazel also pretty much sledgehammered any idea of him trying to befriend Rias when her status was revealed. As mentioned before, he kept a healthy distance away from her. Naruto was after all funded and took many jobs from the Fallen Angel faction. Back on topic, Naruto replied, "Yeah, it was her. Get up then, brat." Naruto groaned begrudgingly as picked himself off the couch and faced his master. The blonde was easily towered by his overbearing height as he looked up. He was now facing down as he took on a right hook to the face. The blonde immediately picked himself up and spoke, "Jerk, that actually hurt." Jiraiya didn't let him finish as he swung with a left. "That one is for looking back in the first place. Now get up. It's time I told you something." Naruto let out a long sigh as his left cheek was firmly planted on the carpet floor. He wondered how Rias was doing. As the door closed, Rias felt heart sunk into despair. She didn't show it in her outward appearance as she sighed and let a small smile plaster her face. "It seems that Naruto-kun isn't going to join our peerage. A real shame, I kinda liked his optimism." Yuto chuckled as he returned her leader's feelings. Yes, he would have been very fun to hang around. It would have made the club a little bit livelier. Koneko merely nodded as she ate her snacks. Akeno was the only one that wasn't convinced of Rias' act. She was not only her queen but her best friend. They have been together for roughly and almost 7 years. All their time together she knew and understood her king more than anyone. The happy facade she was putting up front was hiding her pain and helplessness. Right now Rias needed a shoulder to cry on. The Yamato Nadeshiko beauty knew this all too well, and for that she stood quite as her king announced once again. "Alright, since Naruto didn't join the peerage, I guess we can pick up on the contracts that we put on hold." Rias spoke cheerfully to her peerage. "I'll prepare the teleportation seal right away. Any problems or concerns?" "My schedule is clear today, Buku. So no." Yuto bowed as he smiled sadly at his master. He could not be fooled by her act, but decided to respect it. As the blonde knight got the signal that she wanted to be left alone, hopefully it will alleviate some of her stress, no matter how minor that will be. "I'm clear too." Koneko as she put her treats away and dusted the specks of crumbs from her shirt. Rias only smiled at them in melancholy as she went away to prepare the portal. Akeno followed and helped with the preparations, easily allowing less time to finish. Yuto and Koneko stepped in together. The circle glowed beneath and they soon disappeared in a flash. Rias' once happy demeanor soon changed into sorrowful expression. Her blue-green eyes reflecting her current dilemma. Hopelessness, fear, anguish, and resentment of her weakness in not being strong enough and able to break away from her chain of fate. Naruto was her key to release her of her burden on being forced to marry a man she held no love or attraction to. She thought he was going to join, but in the end it was only natural that he would reject. His name was fitting. A maelstrom that came in with a strong and powerful current that would sweep down anyone in his path, and now he was gone unnoticed. As calm as the sea, she could feel his presence fade away as the door closed before them. He was an unconquerable force that wouldn't be swayed by her cunning or anyone's at that. It was a trait that Rias was starting to understand in why so many people were drawn into him. Issei had the sacred gear that could have pulled her out of her curse but was robbed by the fallen angel before it could have been put to use. Naruto was her backup, but her word held no sway and thus left. Tears streamed from her eyes. She tried her best to hide her sniffles, but it did not change anything. Akeno stood in front of her dear friend and embraced as she muffled her cries. She did not care if her shirt became wet and a mess. Her best friend Rias needed her more than ever. She hoped someone punched Naruto in the face for doing this for her. Akeno spoke soothingly as she tried to comfort her friend. "Don't worry, Rias. Everything will be all right." Rias pushed her friend away as she retorted, "No, it won't. It's over for me, Akeno. Riza is sure to come calling soon. We have no chance in beating him in a rating game in our current situation. There's no hope left for me. Akenos eyed her friend sympathetically as Rias' voice broke at her last sentence. If you give up now, then there really won't be any hope for us then. That caused Rias to look at her dear friend. How could they beat her bane of her current problem? Riza Phoenix, her fiancé, and not by choice though. The two had been engaged since before she had even been born. In simple terms, Rias didn't want to marry him at all. The marriage had a lot of political implications, that many of the pure-blooded devils fallen victim to. With so few pure-blooded devils remaining, it was viewed as a way to ensure the next generation of pure-blooded devils would keep the family bloodline and purity going. It would also cement an alliance between the Grimoire clan and Phoenix family, two of the remaining 34 pillar families, so the marriage was pretty much set in stone. The marriage came with a catch: it didn't have that much affect if it was opposed. Devils value power greatly. If Rias can prove her power and leadership abilities before the marriage, she could end it. She had few real options to do just that though, considering her age and current power level. The only real option was to beat Riza in an unofficial rating match. Rating matches are a sign of a devil's personal power, and the power of their peerage. Defeating Riza would prove Rias was the more powerful devil, thus her opinion would trump Riza's in the mind of the devil community. It was the best option. The prospects of that occurring were at an all-time low though. Riza was older and more experienced than her. He had an entire peerage, 15 members, she had 4 in total, one of which is useless currently. Including the kings, it was 16-4. Numbers don't decide a match, but they sure do help. And the numbers are currently against her. She doesn't even want to acknowledge that Riza is immortal at this point. No matter how she thinks about it, her chance of winning the match is 0%, no strategy she can come up with, no training they can do, no forbidden spell she could learn, nothing can alter that 0%. She needs more peerage members to simply have the smallest chance of success. She was also running out of time. Riza was not known for his patience. Since Shusha's had her evil piece set for over 2 years now.
It was only a matter of time. Riza was going to run out of patience. He'd then pressure his father, who would pressure her father, who would then pressure her to have the marriage occur. Her brother had recently warned her Riza was tired of waiting. He was starting to complain to his father. She had maybe 6 months before she ran out of time, but more likely just 2 or 3 months. That was an incredibly small window to work with.
She could remember when she saw Issei's sacred gear. It was the opportunity she was looking for. His sacred gear was so powerful that it was one of the 13 most powerful sacred gears in the world. A weapon that can kill a god. The idea of such a person going to her school had practically been fate in Ria's mind. Not that Issei's assistance alone would have been enough to guarantee a victory over Riza. Longinus may be powerful, but they don't start out that way. Their wielders' needs unlock such power. They need time, experience, training. It had still been enough to give Rias hope that she could beat Riza, though. If Issei could gain even basic control over his Longinus, her chance of defeating Riza rose to 5%. 5% is abysmally low still, but Rias would take it over 0%. And even that small chance had now sunk through her grasp. The fallen angel had stolen even that chance from her. Rias wanted to scream, rant, and beat the smug fallen angel's face to a pulp with her hands. She couldn't though. She probably returned to the Grigori, earning praise and promotion over her accomplishment. While she was here suffering and facing the effects of her action, Rias was starting to think the world was plotting against her, or maybe it was the God of the Bible being a jerk. After a few moments of this, Rias asked, "What should I do, Akeno?" Akeno blinked in shock before asking, "You're asking me? I don't see why not. I've done a pretty good job of botching things up. I'm a complete failure as a king. If you asked me 2 years ago, I would have declared confidently that most of my peerage would have been filled by this point. That they'd all be well trained and powerful, ready to defeat Riza. Instead I have this," Rias stated in a bitter voice. She then gave a weak laugh, cracking halfway through due to her emotion. Akeno decided to ignore the possible insult. She knew Rias didn't mean it like that. Rias considered all of them her family, and loved them. It was the idea that she only had 4 peerage members, one that had to be sealed away for his own safety, considering she had been preparing and planning for 2 years to eventually face Rias. Her efforts have not borne much fruit. After a few seconds of weak sobs, Rias recovered enough to finish. Seems like anyone can do better than me right now, and you are way better than a random person, so I don't see why not. Kendo nodded gravely. Rias had always been certain in her abilities, but this seems to have created a crack in her usual confidence, a crack that had likely been forming for months as the deadline with Rias approached. This incident was the last straw. So now Shusha's looking around her for help. Which is actually good. Shusha's not giving up or trying to stand by herself. When weak, it's better to lean a bit on your friends. That's what they're for, after all. So Kendo led the now outright crying Rias back to her chair. She then pulled out a tissue and gently dabbed at her eyes. Thankfully Rias didn't wear mascara or makeup, so she didn't need to worry about that sort of mess. Once Rias' tears stopped flowing, Kendo stood and started to make 2 cups of tea. She then gave one to the hiccuping and shaking Rias before sitting opposite her with her own cup. She then waited till Rias took a few sips. The tea did its job in calming Rias down slightly. Placing her own tea down, Kendo started seriously. If I am going to give you advice, then I am going to be completely honest. Rias, as an example, in comparison to you and Sona, she has not only beaten you but showed that she is a much more fitting queen than you. That made Rias flinch. Sure, she had been expecting something like that, she even asked for it. Still didn't make it any easier to hear. Sona was her rival, despite also being her friend. To hear that she had lost to her rival so bluntly was not a good feeling. Kendo continued on though, explaining, it isn't doing to your personal power or ability or anything. It's simply a matter of the method in which you both gathered your peerage. You went out in the city and scout for potential, which really isn't a bad idea, but it colored your perspective on finding potential recruits. I, Koneko, Yuto, and Gasper are blatant examples. We all fell right into your lap by coincidence and sheer luck. And you simply took advantage, but this also led you to believe that finding recruits for your peerage, as they would more likely be found in much bigger places that you would visit. I and Koneko came from Japan but marginally from different locations.
While Yuto and Gasper were into different states, even Issei, you knew about him, but it wasn't enough for him to go to our school. You wanted some perfect event for him to feel a sense of danger by the fallen angels. And you come to pull up a heroic moment. You have been waiting for some big opportunity to fall into your lap. To put it bluntly, you expected this kind of luck to happen again elsewhere around you when you visited one of the cities. Am I right? Rias bit her lip. She wasn't wrong. Now let's think about how Sona went about gathering a peerage.
She didn't wait. She carefully evaluated the students in this school who had magical potential.
She then recruited the ones with the most, resolving to train them up over time. She didn't wait for already competent candidates to appear. She calculated who could eventually become a competent peerage member, and then set about making them achieve that potential. While you actively did seek out members, you were counting more on your luck to make opportunities appear. She actively worked to create her own opportunities.
So the answer to your earlier question about what you should do. You need to change your method, Rias. You can't wait for some hero or savior to appear.
You have to work at improving your peerage. Put in a real effort, Akeno declared bluntly. She then elaborated, well, use our familiars to scout out any possible talent, anyone that has above average magical potential. 3 of our familiars in the school, and 1 searching the city for any sacred gear users or supernatural creatures. We review them all, and make a decision. We then recruit them, no delay.
Rias nodded, but still argued. We don't have long before our match with Rias. We don't have time to properly train someone from scratch. We should focus on finding sacred gear users or those already with a proficient fighting level that are in the city.
Didn't you listen to anything I just said, Rias? Akeno chastised with a frown. She then explained, there aren't any of those, or so few. The chances of us finding them are low. Do you know why we were sent to this school, besides to fit in?
It's because this is the place most likely to have sacred gear holders in this entire city.
They don't last long, Rias. They are either killed, or recruited by someone. Don't expect to find some random, middle-aged shopkeeper with a sacred gear. Stop expecting someone like that to appear. We have no choice but to look for less appealing options, and even if we do find a powerful recruit, they'll probably reject us the same way Naruto did. He even further proves that potential power circulates strongly around Kuo.
Rias lowered her head slightly at the brutal summarization. She still managed to comment, I just don't think we have enough time to train a regular person to the point they'd be useful. Then I'll whip them into shape if I have to, Akeno claimed with a scary look on her face. For once not thinking of receiving pleasure at such an action, she then added, we don't need him truly powerful, not to the level of Yuto or Koneko, as long as they are semi-competent. They'll fill up our numbers. The fewer Rias' peerage outnumbers us, the better our chances. Our current members will just have to fill the gap in skill and experience. Rias still wasn't sure, but finally gave her assent. Even if the chance of such a plan succeeding were low, it might be her only chance. Oh, we still can't give up on Naruto yet, Akeno quickly added in. What? We failed to convince him. Rias frowned. We didn't necessarily persuade him strongly enough. After all, you never asked on what his dream is, Akeno reasoned with her friend as she continued to point out. Even if he said that his goal complex, he never informed us on the details. We could have easily figured out a solution that maybe he had missed. It was no rumor that Naruto did struggle occasionally in academics on his early first year. Rias' eyes widen at the revelation. Maybe hope wasn't all lost, she was still in the game. Her once sorrowful frown turned into a bright smile, but then abruptly shifted into a rather angry expression as he called out her queen. Why didn't you say something? It just came up when I was thinking. Akeno blushed in embarrassment. She was just a person. Even she would miss out on crucial details. You basically asked me some advice and I got very intelligent and analytical over what you did wrong and noticed that small information pop up as I was thinking. That doesn't mean you were bad at noticing it. You just got very emotional and failed to give a convincing response. It happens to us eventually. Rias pouted as she crossed her arms, effectively emphasizing her breast. She sighed as she appreciated her friend's comforting words. All is forgiven, Akeno. For now let's get back and focus on our situation. Rias and Akeno spend their night rerunning over the plan on scouring over potential recruits. Naruto flexed his jaw as he sat down. So what were you going to tell me? The tall Sannin went back to the kitchen to get another beer and returned to the living room. Jiraiya now sat in a recliner, his feet raised up. In his hand was his beer. Taking a nice sip of the can, Jiraiya started in a calmer voice. So remember when we first arrived here? Yeah. But why does it matter? We just moved in Quo, Naruto answered passively as took out his shuriken and began twirling him around his index finger. Jiraiya groaned at his student missed the point. Not that part, the part when we arrived to this world. Oh, you mean the time when we almost drowned in that lake but got saved by Vivian? The blonde refreshed as it got Jiraiya to nod. What's so important about it? Jiraiya sighed as he cleared his throat. Before we get to Vivian, I need to know on how you feel about destiny. That was an odd question, but Naruto just answered with the best of his ability. Honestly, if the concept of destiny does exist and me not being chosen to be Hokage, then it can pretty much shove it. Jiraiya raised a brow with intrigue as his student continued on. I had a fight with Neji about this in the Chunin exam. He told me that all the people who earned the title of Hokage were destined to become Hokage. He even went to say that only a fool wastes his time trying to become something he can never be. The only destiny that everyone shares is death. I kicked his ass after that to prove him wrong. After all, just because you were labeled a failure doesn't mean you have to accept it. If you don't like the hand that fate's dealt you with, fight for a new one. So what I'm trying to say is that maybe there is a destiny, but it doesn't have to be set in stone. Heck, if a priestess said that if I'm going to die, then I'll prove her wrong. Look at you sounding all philosophical and whatnot. I got to write that down. That's one hell of an uplifting quote you got there. Jiraiya gave a mirthful grin as his student became abashed in praise. The priestess and man defying his destiny sounds like a good installment one of my spin-off series, Ero Ero. Whatever praise Naruto felt quickly jumped out of the window as his master's pen scratched his notepad. Writing his new hot thrilling installment, Jiraiya couldn't be satisfied with his hot-selling Icha series. That's why he decided to franchise himself further to the horizon by introducing his self-contained spin-off series, Ero Ero. There were only 2 books out, Ero Ero Paradigm and Ero Ero Slave, where they gained a devoted cult following among fans. It was even getting a movie that's been put on hold as Jiraiya and several writers were redrafting on the script due to reasonable standards of the film industry. Many were looking forward for its release, but the blonde didn't care about all that. Could you stop that and get focused on the conversation? Jiraiya clicked his tongue as he put his notepad away. A story for another time. So what's the deal about me and my feelings about destiny? Well, you see, Naruto, when I was just around the age of 12, I reversed summoned myself in Mount Myaboku, the land of the toads. Wait, you mean to tell me Gamakichi and Gamatatsu actually live in a village full of toads or something like that? Naruto asked in surprise. Of course, idiot. Giant toads just don't live in the middle of the road, Jiraiya replied as he was interrupted. Well, anyway, as I discovered the sacred place, I divided my time between Mount Myaboku and Konoha, where learned ninjutsu and senjutsu. Senjutsu, was that? Naruto asked in interest. Jiraiya hadn't taught him that yet. Jiraiya gave a proud grin as he boasted, Senjutsu is the field that allows practitioners learn to draw the energy of nature inside of them, blending it with their own chakra. This adds a new dimension of power to the practitioner's chakra, resulting in the increased prowess in all set of skills. Its power is comparable into becoming of that of an immortal god. Naruto's eyes gleamed at hearing that. Immortal god sounded awesome. Wow. When are you going to teach me? When we get back home and travel to Mount Myaboku, Jiraiya answered flatly. That's going to take a long time. Naruto's enthusiasm immediately died after that. Yeah, well, you're plenty of strong right now, kid. There's no need to rush at it, Jiraiya consoled his student. Naruto beamed at the praise. Senjutsu aside, after a good couple of years at training in Mount Myaboku, I met the great Toad Sage. He foretold of a prophecy where I would take in a student in order to train him to become a powerful shinobi and would bring about a great change to the ninja world. What kind of great change? Naruto asked in interest. Either of great stability or great destruction on the likes of this world has never seen. Which of these two the great Toad Sage could not say, Jiraiya said forebodingly as the atmosphere around them got heavy at the revelation. It's either one or the other. I thought a prophecy was supposed to be straightforward as a fortune cookie, Naruto said dryly. The whole utter destruction was something that the blonde didn't want to come pass. Well, not everything in life is blunt, kid. Besides, a prophecy by definition is a prediction that might come to pass or not. If you want it in simpler terms, it's basically a meteorologist claiming that it will be rainy tomorrow yet it turns out to be sunny that day. Jiraiya shrugged as he took another sip from his beer. So you're saying that the prophecy might come true or not? Naruto asked. Well, I'll tell you this. I came across the belief that I did found the child of the prophecy. The first one was Nagato. He had this amazing power that by the age of 10 he mastered every technique he was taught, covering numerous styles, all of the basic nature transformations, and yang release. He was going to change his village with his friends in Am. Their deeds reached even my ears from time to time. But eventually he died. The second one I believed was the fourth Hokage, but you know how his song and dance ended. Died sealing the Kyuubi into an orphan child, Naruto. The blonde fell a little quiet after hearing Jiraiya's past students. It made him sorry that he had to go through that. So have you had any luck in finding him yet? Jiraiya looked at Naruto, gave him an incredulous look. Of course I have. It's you, you idiot. Me? Naruto pointed at himself, dumbfounded by the realization. What makes you think I'm the child of the prophecy? Well, that's where Vivian comes in. Turns out that not only did we cause the worlds to converge, but we also caused several ripples in the state of the world. You see, Vivian can see glimpses in the future and saw that our stay would eventually have massive effects towards the world, as we would change a lot of people's live directly and indirectly. Jiraiya then waved his hand in annoyance as he grumbled. Vivian then started speaking in riddles, never giving me a clear answer on how to prevent this, which she told me was inevitable due to me being me. The only clue she gave me is that you would one day come home with a riddled and mixed face, making a decision that would change you forever. If you want my take, then I actually believe this was what our prophecy meant." "How exactly?" Naruto asked, being lost in the conversation. "Well, Vivian said you specifically, like in your full name and secret that you house in your gut." Naruto clenched his belly at the reminder. "That's why I'm starting to believe that maybe you are the child of the prophecy that the great Toad Sage foretold about. A student of mine would bring a great revolution to the world of ninjas, and my own actions would determine whether that revolution would bring salvation or destruction. It actually fits terrifyingly well." Naruto gulped as he felt the pressure of the evidence his master was stating. "Your actions during that fight against the masked man had landed us in this world. And it was for you that I met Azazel, who's helping me in trying to develop a way of traveling between the worlds easily. If the elemental nations were linked to this world, a great revolution would surely grip our world. All the hidden villages would be compelled to ally together. Because we had heard of some beings in this world that can easily stand up against and even surpass even the strongest of our ninjas in power. An alliance would only be our chance of not being taken over. I don't want all the supernatural forces against the shinobi world." Naruto knew where his master was coming from. The blonde had his fair share of difficulties in fighting supernatural creatures, and especially after studying on how vast the mythologies of the world proved out to be true and real. Devils, angels, fallen, dragons, yokai, etc. The list went on as you could lose track at what was real and not. Even if the shinobi could take on one of their races but the rest combine was near impossible. Even if shinobi had quality, the quantity would eventually overwhelm them. Jiraiya knew this as well. It's one of the sole reasons he made allies in the first place. Contacting Azazel came out as a miracle. They managed to work out a deal. He was willing to provide the Sannin all sorts of information in return for his expertise in certain areas. The governor actually offered him a leadership position in his organization. But he declined humbly. Azazel's obsession with the sacred gears was what cemented their alliance. The system that governed the sacred gears is run with a form of sealing. Different from Fuinjutsu, but pretty darn close, using his knowledge in Fuinjutsu. Jiraiya was able to provide him all sorts of information. How sacred gears are created, the reincarnation process, and how to properly remove them. Seriously, they were previously just ripping them out when all they needed to do was properly unseal them. A simple counter seal and they just pop out. Azazel went crazy. He wasn't so fond of the removal thing, but he practically cried from all the information the Sannin gave him on creating them. Hard to believe he was the leader of the fallen angels. The blonde's actions were likely to have a more huge impact from now on, and as Naruto mentor, Jiraiya's actions would also have immense repercussions. It was unclear how the powers of the rest of the world would react to the elemental nations. Would they invade? Would they try to interact peaceably? Or would they ignore them entirely? It was also unclear. The situation had the potential to be great or terrible. Which meant Naruto and Jiraiya's actions till that time would determine whether salvation or destruction would engulf the elemental nations. Would they be crushed under the gods and titans of this world? Or would the elemental nations peacefully interact with this world and become a major power? Taking another sip of his beer, Jiraiya began to speak. "I believe you should figure out on what made the Rias girl upset, and once you hear her reason, then you should make a decision if involving yourself is in your best interest. You want me to join her peerage? The better question, if you want to join her peerage. Do I have to?" Naruto said in a rather quiet tone. "Not really," Jiraiya replied honestly. "You can leave her be and go on with your life. After all, this is the most logical decision most would take and go with it choosing, not your problem, right?" Naruto looked down at the carpet floor in deep thought and remembered Rias' mournful gaze as he looked back. Automatically the blonde rose from the couch and walked out of the room. Jiraiya followed him with his eyes but uttered no word. Instead he had a smile in his aged face. His student was going to get the girl after all. Naruto opened the door and was immediately met with Aflair at the door with many of the groceries at her person. Naruto, you didn't have to open the door for me." Aflair flushed in embarrassment as she saw him in the doorstep. She was glad that the blonde wasn't going to avoid her after the incident. She troubled herself for nothing it seems. Naruto immediately changed his serious expression in a rather relaxed demeanor. He raised a single hand and made a cross with his left hand's index finger and middle finger, entwining them together as he spoke. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Shadow Clone Technique. 3 perfect copies of Naruto's popped into existence in a cloud of white smoke, each of them taking a bag and lifting of the burden away from Aflair, which made her smile in his act of kindness. Help Aflair-chan with the kitchen, Naruto commanded his clones as they all saluted with their identical cheesy grins. Aflair cupped the real Naruto's left cheek as she stroked it affectionately. Thank you Naruto. I'll make sure to make a nice bowl of miso pork ramen. Just hearing that made the blonde forget everything he was about to do right now. He drooled at the thought of eating a nice delicious bowl of ramen. Aflair's didn't match Ichiraku's ramen, but they were nonetheless superb in their own right. But sadly Naruto had to do another important matter to attend right now. He gave Aflair a quick hug which immediately delighted her before he let her go. Thanks Aflair-chan, I'll make sure to make it to dinner. Ero Sennin will tell you any questions that you might have. Bye. Naruto body flickered out of existence, leaving several scattered leaves in his absence. Blown away by the gust of the wind, Aflair frowned as she entered the house to speak with her leader. He appeared in a swirl of leaves at the dead of night. Being 5 feet away from the old schoolhouse, Naruto sighed in relief that the lights were still on. He moved forward to the stairs, and as he was about to knock on the timber, the immediately opened, seeing Rias Gremory come out. Their gaze met and she stepped back as she noticed him, surprised by his sudden revisit at the club. Naruto-kun, what are you doing here? Rias tried her best to hide the hostility in her voice, but failed as she was alone. Akeno had left after they finished their planning, doing her daily activities for the day. She was going to meet Sona and inform her of her current course of actions. The reason she walked out of the door as she planned go on foot, taking a long walk in the pale moonlight. It always helped her alleviate her stress or anything unsettling over the course of that she encountered in her life. Naruto smiled warmly at Rias to put her at ease, mentally telling her that he meant no harm or ill will towards her. It worked slightly, but the blonde would take it nonetheless. He took a deep breath and spoke calmly with professionalism despite his happy attitude. Gremory Rias of the Gremory clan. My name is Uzumaki Naruto, a shinobi and employer of the Sukedachi. Naruto made a fist and raised it towards his chest as he continued. I'm here to offer you a contract in putting myself in service in towards your peerage. The pay is free. I'll join your peerage and be your servant as long as I see fit to myself. Are you willing to accept these terms from me? It only comes once in a lifetime. Rias could only shock. She was too stunned to even speak. There was hope after all. Thanks.